World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
The HyperX Open Series returns then to World Pro Racing, where we take you to Donington Park, a very, very great place to race at Castle Donington in the heart of Derby. My name is Kieran McGinley. Joining alongside me is the lovely Mr. David Christie, and we've got some great action for you. 30-minute sprint race followed by an hour-long feature race with one pit stop mandatory and mandatory refueling. And a big thank you to all of our sponsors in AMD, HyperX, GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster, Gaming Malta, and visitmalta.com. And wherever you're watching us, be it on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, ESTV, Motorsport TV, and TVO Sport, you're very welcome to tonight's racing action. David, well, Donington Park, what a track to be racing at in these cars.
Yeah, it's a fantastic, fantastic track. Got some real life experience of it. It really doesn't get over the undulations and the elevation changes on the circuit. That bit where you're going down through towards Old Hairpin Bend is just spectacular. We're going to see a lot of action tonight, that's for sure, Kieran.
We are indeed, and of course we've got on-track action coming up soon, and of course World Pro Racing with the Simulation Centre in full force over the last few months as well. I know the guys behind the scenes are Justin Mifsud and Adrian Figayo working very hard behind the scenes to get this Simulation Centre up and running, and there it is right now, live pictures of drivers just trying their hand there at racing. Luckily, David, they don't have us in their ears to shout over them. I think that's a relief to them.
Kieran, they don't, but the eagle-eyed among us there, I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit hungry. I'm noticing that pizza at the bottom the bottom right-hand corner of the picture there. That's I'm thinking that's possibly going to get stolen in the next 10 minutes.
Perhaps, yeah. We've got to watch our backs on that one, that is for sure. But yeah, it's fantastic for Malta there to have the simulation centre there by World Pro Racing. And we've seen on social media how important it's been to attract the attention in Malta and esports. It's fantastic to see. It was great to see over the last few weeks drivers there in the series really... was going to be a place for the motorsport games until that was postponed, but we saw some great racing action all in the simulation centre there, David.
We absolutely did, and obviously we also saw Justin and Adrian at the weekend on national TV in Malta, TVM, representing the brands and explaining just exactly what their vision is for esports, not just in Malta but for the world as well. And an incredible vision that they share, and it's fantastic to be a part of because they really want to bring the entire world to Malta. And I think it's definitely going to be a very bright future for them.
Well, 15 minutes of practice, 15 minutes of qualifying, and then we get into our racing action. We're at Donington Park tonight, and then we head to the, final round, you should say, on the 3rd of December at Kyalami. So that is where the HyperX Open Series will come to a conclusion. But there are prizes on offer tonight, David. And if you haven't been on the podium before, now's your chance to really grab those top prizes.
It really is, and to be honest, Kieran, me and you were joking off air about we should be entering this. One of us pulls a sickie at the last minute and heads on. So I don't think Justin would have appreciated that, and the production team behind the scenes. But yeah, fantastic prizes up for offers. As you mentioned right at the start, a huge thank you to our commercial partners for making those prizes possible. And yeah, it's a great way to round off the season and to round off the night as well. By getting your hands on some goodies.
Well, without further ado then, let's head trackside where I believe our drivers are just putting some laps in for their practice. And well, we had a lot, and I mean a lot, of last minute dropouts. It's such a shame to see, but you know what they say, David, it's not the quantity of the grid, it's the quality. And you see Ivalio Boychev there just taking a much wider line to make sure that he straight lines to the corner as much as possible on towards the start-finish straight. The driver's favourite then really will be Luke Whitehead, who's running in the number 21 Porsche. He's currently in the pit lane at the moment, but looking at his pace, his standards, he'll be backing himself to win this one, won't he?
He absolutely will, and like you said, I'm disappointed to see the drop in numbers compared to what was originally entered. But I think what's happened, Kieran, is they've heard the rumours that me and you were going to be on the broadcast tonight, and they just didn't think that their quality was going to be up to par for our wonderful broadcasting quality. But joking aside, look, we've got 8 cars here, 8 very, very fast drivers, quite a few names that we're familiar with, the likes of Sheldon Muscat and Luke Whitehead. I think we're not going to be lost for any action whatsoever out on track.
No, Luke Whitehead making his way through the order is definitely one to watch out for. He's driving in the Porsche here tonight. We've also got Sheldon Muscat in the number 14 Bentley, also one to keep your eye on there. He's just making his way around the final corner on towards the start-finish straight out of Goddard's and on towards the Wheatcroft straight on towards Redgate. And, well, David, I mean, back in 2010, there were some proposals to change up this circuit and change it up somewhat, almost as far as going to changing where the start-finish line was actually going to be. Where it is right now, of course, is the Wheatcroft Straight. It's been there for a number of years, but they were planning on relocating it all the way to Starkey Straight. And can you imagine that? Melbourne Hairpin being your first turn. Oh, what a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know about it until we both had a look at that Circuit Info's map there, and the 2010 proposals are there. It's I'm not a big fan. Maybe it would have been an amazing thing, and maybe it would have been a very, very different circuit, but for me, I like the way that it is just now, with the fact that turn 1, Redgate, that tight right-hander that's a lot tighter than you actually think, then down through Hollywood and Craner curves. Now, whether you're in GT cars or whether you're in some of the British Touring cars, or even like I was in the City Car Cup, though that layout, that Hollywood Craner curves down to the old hairpin, absolutely iconic in British motorsport, and some of the most enjoyable corners out there.
Yeah, that's absolutely for sure. I mean, it's a place where I have dabbled my hand at racing a couple of times. Not many times commentated, though, so that is a cardinal sin that I'm hoping to abolish here tonight. Sheldon Muscat then across the line to set another lap time. He's currently topping the standings then in this practice session with a 1:26.7. There's Wojciech Neuwirth, who's making his way through these high-speed S's through the Craner curves, the old hairpin, and then we get towards Starkey's Bridge, and just taking a little bit of grass there through Schwantz Curve, and then up towards McLean's, and this is where the undulation really starts to take into effect, doesn't it, David?
It absolutely does. The one thing that you never realise until you see it in real life or drive around it in real life is the bumps on this on this corner here specifically. As the car comes round through Coppice and then onto Starkey Straight, it's very, very bumpy. You get an idea there with the camera, the dip that the car takes, but it's even more dramatic in real life. The other thing to remember tonight is, especially with the introduction of the British GT tracks, Kieran, is those sausage curbs just on the inside of the red and white curbing there. If the cars hit them at all, that takes a huge chunk of pressure and of temperature out of the tyres and can really lead to problems later on in the race.
That is something that the drivers are going to have to be just keeping themselves on their toes about. They're going to have to watch out for them as Wojciech Neuwirth in the Team Shark car makes his way across the line, 3/10 off of his personal best so far. There's our a setter in this practice session, Sheldon Muscat, coming across the line, and well, he did go faster on that lap, but unfortunately for him it wasn't a valid one, so it's not going to count.
It's that's unfortunate to say the very, very least there. But Sheldon Muscat, I mean, we've seen him in numerous other Assetto Corsa Competizione championships, and my goodness, he is a fast driver, but he doesn't have some bad luck as he kind of proves there, going round and around and around the corner, old hairpin there. But I'm really hoping to see a good performance from Sheldon tonight. But look at that. I mean, that's what, 5 cars we've got within 0.4 of a second. I tell you what, 8 cars, yeah, that's absolutely fine tonight.
That's not a problem at all, really, is it? And this quality of this grid is starting to shine through. Ivalo Boychev and the IDS Racing Audi. I mean, the Audi not only makes a great racket, it's a great car to be driving, but, you know, sometimes it is... Sitting in the commentary box, David, has its benefits, and listening to the sultry note of the Audi as it powers its way through is really something to behold.
It's okay. I like the noise of it.
I see how hard it is.
Yeah,
you hung me out to dry there, that's for sure.
I know that the sound of the Audi is wonderful, but for me, the big problem I've got with that Audi is that it is horrific to drive. It is such a schizophrenic monster of a car. It's like you'll be going down 90% of the track, it'll be absolutely fine, it'll be your best friend, and then for no reason whatsoever, that car's going to pitch it in at about 120 miles into the nearest barrier, and it's a horrible experience for me driving that car. I prefer something a little bit more settled like the Aston, like say the Merc, although that can be just as bad at times depending on setup. But Aston for me is a very, very well-rounded car here, Kieran.
Yeah, just make sure I put a reference into Audi. You won't be able to sell an Audi. You won't be getting a job with Audi anytime soon, I'm afraid, David. I
think that's the professional esports career gone down the pan with Audi, isn't it?
I think it might have, yeah. You might have just burned bridges there, but hey-ho, what are you going to do? Here's Daniel Strubert going through the final corner at Goddard's and back onto the power. A little bit of grass kicked up from the car ahead of him. That's one of the Porsches then, as they head their way across the line. Strumere then with a 27.2 on that last lap around. Silver Pyramids then just behind him in that mint-coloured, you could almost say, Nissan, and the Nenko Racing number 23, the Estonian. We ride on board with him, David, as we head our way through Hollywood, and this gives you the perfect example of just how much undulation there is as we head our way now through the craner curves, through the old hairpin. Now you see almost 90 degrees to the right there, and both drivers, two of them off the circuit, and then Silver Pyramids has to do his best dodging performance you've ever seen. That was a pretty choreographed old hairpin grass run, wasn't it?
Sorry,
I didn't know they had a rallycross track.
I was going to say, are we doing a little World Rallycross event here at Donington Park? But yeah, like I think that's kind of butchered their remaining qualifying laps for that one. We missed that one though. Wojtek Neuwirth up to pole position with a 1:26.616.
Steady on, David. It's only free practice for now.
Oh, yeah.
I
was so far ahead of it. I genuinely was thinking we were in qualifying there. Right, okay.
Suck it in, that's what it was.
But in all seriousness, though, look at that. That is a huge, a huge tick for qualifying. If that's what we're going to get, 6 cars within 0.4 of a second, I will absolutely take that if that's the case.
Well, we haven't seen Luke Whitehead complete a lap yet. He's making his way around Goddard's and then on towards the Wheatcross Straight, and he will only put in the 1 lap for this practice session. Let's see what he can do there. There he is in the PPR Esports Porsche, then coming up towards Redgate for the first time in this session for him. And Luke Whitehead, of course, a very, very talented driver, has been successful pretty much wherever he's driven, in whichever competition he's driven in. And he's one of those drivers, David, that is a perfectionist. If he doesn't get a fastest lap in every single session, plus the win, plus the pole position, plus everything and the plaudits, he will not be happy. And even then, you know, if he makes a slight mistake on 1 lap of an hour race, he's still not happy. He's a pure perfectionist.
I swear, say if he gets fastest lap on like his only lap he does in free practice, everybody else will just be like, right, we're just going home. It's just, there's no point here. But yeah, look, it could happen. But again, it's almost irrelevant with it being free practice, other than it being a little bit of mind games. But we do have to speak nicely of him, because he was very, very nice to us in YouTube chat, saying nice things, saying that we are the cool combo. I don't think I've ever been called cool in my life, so I'm a little bit confused by that, Kieran.
Yeah, it's the first for us both, I think. Checkered flag is out then for this practice session. Kirsten Abaya has taken the checkered flag. I'm sure not a representative lap time from Abaya then. Some drivers will be focusing on race stints as well. Don't forget Luke Whitehead then coming towards the line end in that distinctive PPR Esports car.
Oh, come on.
There it is.
No way. Not just takes the fastest lap in practice, but by like over a second. That is... Kiyu's saying that's it, race over, he wins all the prizes. I have to agree. There we go. Well, that was a very short broadcast tonight then, Kieran.
Oh, well, you know, anything can happen. We've seen in the past Luke Whitehead can make mistakes. He can. But we shall see how it all pans out. We've still got qualifying yet to run at the turn of it, 15 minutes of it to run through. But yeah, a solid lap time, 1.1 seconds clear. If you're Wojtek Neuwirth and you've just seen Luke Whitehead posting a time like that, that's 1.1 seconds clear of you, and you're now in second place. What's running through your mind at that point?
Well, see, that was a question I always had, and I always thought, oh, well, that must be it, you know, you must feel so dejected. But in reality, the answer I ended up getting from a lot of the drivers are, well, it's great because now we know there's an extra second to be found, at least. So for a lot of the drivers, they'll just say that they're not pushing hard enough through that free practice. And again, we do say, oh yeah, it's only practice, but to have 5 drivers within 3/4 of a second kind of shows that they really are close to where the limit is for them. So we'll keep an eye on it during qualifying. But yeah, this is going to be tasty. There's going to be some big fireworks going off tonight.
Oh, there absolutely will be, and hopefully we'll get to see them out on track. And there they are, Wojtek Neuwirth, just as we speak about him in the Team Shark Aston Martin, the number 63 car, making his way now onto the Fogarty S's and now towards the Melbourne hairpin. In theory, then, he'll be the first one to set a lap time, although I wonder if Silver Pyramids right behind might have something to say about that one. Interesting then, Pyramids being this close to the Aston Martin, he might try and back off now before we head in towards Goddard's, because you do want a bit of clear air, especially when you go through Hollywood, the old hairpin, Starkey's Bridge, and they're already racing, and we're only in qualifying. Did somebody tell them that? Oh, Neuwirth lights up the rear tyres there and goes into the wall, unless he managed to grab that back to the pit lane very quickly. Don't worry, Northworth, your secret's safe with us.
Nobody saw anything, it's fine.
No,
it's
no.
just our little secret right there.
Even our cameraman just panned away from it, so you're fine, Wojciech. Don't worry about it.
Saved some blushes on that one. If you're Luke Whitehead, though, I would have wondered if he was maybe going to be just doing exactly the same, maybe leave it to the final 5 minutes and then just come out and set a cracking lap time. But Luke Whitehead out of the pits already. In fact, the only car not out the pits just now is that number 9 just now of Ash Knight. It's also great to see so many drivers also with their own Twitch stream. I think Ash is broadcasting on Twitch right now.
Yeah, I mean it's good to see. You know, one thing we've learnt, David, over the past year or so, 2 years even, is that a lot of these esports drivers are starting to stream, and they are starting to make themselves a brand when it comes to streaming. You look at the likes of Jarno Opmeer and Marcel Kiefer. They have perfected that. You know, they are not just a driver, they are now an entity in which you will happily go along and watch them. Jimmy Broadbent being one of the huge success stories to turn sim racing and then racing Pragas. I mean, it's an incredible turn. So I think it's just proven here that, you know, you can get behind the wheel and drive if you want to, but once you're good at it, people will want to watch you.
And that's actually a brilliant point that you've brought up there, Kieran, because not only do they want to watch it, but I think that nowadays things like Twitch and YouTube and TikTok and all that sort of stuff, they give you a level of access to a driver that you've never ever had before. You can really feel like you're getting to know the ins and outs of them. The other thing as well is on YouTube, you look at all the documentaries coming out, not just about the real life racers, but about, like you said, Jimmy Broadbent and the antics that he's getting up to. So it's an amazingly strange world we're in right now with motorsports, where, you know, drivers from real life are coming into the sims and sim drivers are going into real life as well, and it's a wonderful mix that we've got.
It's a glorious mix, isn't it? And that's really one of the positives to come out of this crazy 2 years. A lot of negatives, but that is a huge positive. Just over 10 minutes of qualifying left to run then. Daniel Stramer is top of the order. I say that, but it's now Sheldon Muscat by just over 0.4 of a second then. 1:26.937 is the lap time to beat, with Daniel Stramer there in second place. Then it's Silver Pyramid in third, and then Ivalio Boychev rounding off the top 4 times so far. Still expecting lap times there from Luke Whitehead, Wojciech Neuwirth, Ash Knight and Kirsten Abeya.
Yeah, and there we go. Luke Whitehead in with that pole position time so far, 1:25.581. I think we'll see probably in the I think 1:26 is from the majority of drivers, but already Luke Whitehead, that is a time and a half right there.
Isn't it just? Isn't it just? Well, there he is then, your provisional pole sitter, taking a bit of grass with him as well. Well, he's already shown he's quickest on track. And he's taken bits of grass with him as well, just as a souvenir at this point, in that PPR Esports Porsche, making his way now through McLean's and then up the hill in towards Coppice. And I don't think the cameras do it justice how much of an uphill climb that is towards Coppice there, David.
It really is, and then you've got the right-hander at Coppice, and it's a blind corner. It's completely blind. It's an act of faith at the point where the car decides to turn in, and Luke Whitehead on the absolute edge there on the exit of the corner, taking a little bit too much of the corner. I think it's safe to say that pastel pink machine will have to think again about doing qualifying, but in all reality, still over a second ahead of everybody else in the track.
So far, so good then, but Ivalio Boychev has improved the lap time then, now 1.2 seconds within pole position time. There's Silver Pyramids then across the line and brings the car to an immediate halt to come back to the pit lane in that Nissan. That lap time has put him 5th fastest. Wojciech Neuwirth then making his way in towards the final corner at Goddard's then. And again, downhill as you try and apply the power, and it's downhill as you try and turn the car in, so it's very easy to understeer at that point. Neuwirth then with a lap time 1:26.4, which puts him now within 8 tenths of a second. Not bad at all from Wojciech Neuwirth.
Yeah, that's a good lap time. You're starting to see the gaps starting to slowly come tumbling down. I think we'll see that more and more over the next 8 minutes here. Certainly from the likes of Sheldon Muscat, certainly from possibly even Peermates might be able to improve in that GTR, but the GTR not Kieran, a car that's considered to do particularly well here.
Yeah, it is it's a tough one for Silver Pyramids, isn't it? Because, you know, he is a quick driver. We know that. We've seen that in the past. But, yeah, that Nissan is just not quite clicking with Donington here today. Still could be points on the card. You do get the points for both races today, albeit a slightly fewer points you would get in the sprint race. 15 for the win there. And you get the lovely 25 for the feature race victory. The points are then added to get your final result, and then decides if you're eligible for the prizes. And the one bit that the drivers need to be careful about is that if they've had a podium in the last race, they get themselves a kind of success penalty. There's a certain amount of points that gets taken off if you finished off on the podium in the last round.
Absolutely, and that really does add up towards the end of the season as well. But I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, in all honesty, for this race. Come on, Luke Whitehead, another fastest lap, 125.305, takes the gap back up 0.2 of a second now to 1 second over Wojciech Neuwirth there in the 63. And I think, if I'm honest, I think Luke Whitehead might be toying with them at this point.
Yeah, it almost seems like he's toying with Wojciech Neuwirth. He's toying with us as well. There's definitely a 124 on the cards there for Luke Whitehead. There definitely is. And I wonder if he's going to be able to unlock it in this session. Only time will tell. There's Ivaylo Boychev then in the FDS Racing Audi, then making his way now up towards the middle part of the corner of the track. McLean's then out of there and then up towards Coppice once again. I have some good memories actually of Donington Park, at least virtually. This is where I picked up my first ever win in sim racing. Wouldn't you know it?
That is always a fantastic feeling when you do get that first W, even if it is in a sim race. It's I'm trying to think back to mine. I think it was actually Limebrook Park in iRacing in the little MX-5s. I think that was my very first sim racing win back in the day. In fact, might have even been earlier in Live for Speed, Blackwood in the old XF GTI. So yeah,
now you're showing how long. Live for Speed. Yeah, you are taking a turn back, sir.
Tell you what, there's you cannot go against Blackwood GP in the XF GTIs. That is some OG sim racing right there.
Well, there goes a little bit of a bollard there for Sheldon Muscat, but I don't think he will care too much then. He's back onto the power then and making his way on towards the Fogarty S's then. And there's still a lot of undulation. You were talking about it earlier, David. There's a lot of bumpy track out there, a lot of undulation. And then there's trying to take the curbs as well. You've got to have the suspension on this car in order to take those bumps. But that does come with the actual ride height really fluctuating, can interrupt the aero very easily at that point.
It absolutely can, and it's such a huge thing to get a good setup on the car, to get it stable and to allow you to get the turn in and the bite that you absolutely need. I mean, look at the way that car turns in, pitches in for Sheldon Muscat, comes across the line. I don't think that's going to count because he did cut across at the chicane there, but setup, it plays such a massive part in having the confidence with the car and also having top speed with the car. And to be honest, it's no surprise that Luke Whitehead has got both of those in absolute abundance.
Yep, he's just over a second clear of anybody else as we head in towards the final 4 minutes of this qualifying session here for the HyperX Open Series, round number 8 at Donington Park. And one thing I've always been caught out, David, and you said happens to everyone. I had to spell it D-O-N-N, didn't I? That's the cardinal sin of Donington Park. Ooh, boo, boo. I know. I'm the villain of the piece. It is pantomime season, I know.
No, the only reason I boo is because to deflect from the fact that I do it all the time as well. Even though I know that it's only one N, I still always accidentally spell it with two N's. D-O-N-N-I-N-N.
It's so easy.
Yeah,
it's so easy to do. So easy, too easy. Here comes Wojciech Neuwirth then, starting up a lap and obviously using that final corner, trying to take it as wide as possible, David, so that you can straighten the car up earlier and put the power down earlier.
Yeah, and getting the early exit out of the corner, Kieran, is just so unbelievably huge to be able to get that. So yeah, really, really important to get the momentum. We talk about quite a lot about tracks being momentum based, and I think Donington is definitely one like that, because you look at the amount of times that you're flat on the throttle and you're really building up the pace, especially here on the back Starkey straight here. It's all about, you know, keeping that top speed as high as you possibly can, and Luke Whitehead is doing a marvellous job. Although I would like to see a 124, I don't know if we're going to see that, and I'm trying to figure out how we've got a bale of tyres almost in the middle of the road there.
Yeah, someone's hit it at some point, but have got it and to hit it so much that it's actually ended up onto the track. That takes some doing. It's not unfortunately worthy of a prize. It's not worthy of a prize, unfortunately. However, that was impressive. Luke Whitehead then riding on board with him. This is our provisional pole sitter at the moment in that number 21 Porsche. Heading our way now up towards Redgate we go, turning the car in down to second gear, and as you see, the front end biting in, making sure the grip is there. Back onto the power once again as we head our way through Hollywood then, and then the undulation begins. The roller coaster ride through Craner curves, and then coming up towards the old hairpin, down a gear into fourth, carry the speed through, using a little bit of curb on the exit there. Whitehead did pick up a little bit of grass as well as we head through Starkey's Bridge and then up through Schwantz Curve, up towards McLean's we go. We start climbing once again here at Castle Donington, back onto the power, using a little bit of AstroTurf on the exit there, and then we go dark uphill in towards Coppice, and then it's a very easy corner to spin up those rear tyres, the rear end trying to fight at you as you try and apply the power as you make your way down Starkey Straight and towards the Fogarty S's.
Yeah, here we go then down through the final couple of corners here, and again it's a lot less off the power than you'd think through this that chicane there into the Fogarty S's down towards the Melbourne hairpin, then this sweeping right hander. It's a double apex corner. You take two bites of the cherry here, right and then right again early on the power for Luke Whitehead. Exemplary exit from the corner for PPR Esports down into the final corner. The left hander at Goddard's again, a double apex here. The car washes out even to the right hand side there across the line and improves again. 125.218. Luke Whitehead is on an absolute charge right now.
He is indeed, and I think we just saw on board with Luke Whitehead there, the final corner of Goddard. You cannot see the apex until you're halfway through the corner, so trying to get that muscle memory in is so important. Wojciech Neuwirth, meanwhile, 25.9. He's certainly trying to turn up the wick, now just over 0.7 a second away from Luke Whitehead, bringing that gap within a second. Let's see what Neuwirth can do on his final flying lap.
Well, here we go then. This is we've got a yellow flag as well out there as well, so that's through old hairpin just now, and he's binned it, so that's it. It's done and dusted.
Yeah, he clearly didn't like that lap whatsoever, so he's abandoned it then. So Sheldon Muscat currently third fastest. Checkered flag is out. Neuwirth has made his way back to the pit lane then, and so we see Sheldon Muscat and Silver Pyramids then sharing the exact same bit of track, both taking a little bit of grass on the way through. Luke Whitehead, meanwhile, has also brought his car to a stop out on track, so he won't be improving any further then. Let's see then, Sheldon Muscat making his way then all the way through in towards McLean's. Oh, he gets onto the curb and into the wall he goes. That will be the end of his lap, and he will be absolutely frustrated with that one to try and get himself closer to Neuwirth. It would have needed 0.7, but I wouldn't have ruled anything out for Sheldon Muscat. So Silver Pyramids then is our last driver to complete the lap then in the Ninko Racing Nissan, making his way then through the Fogarty S's back onto the power as we then head our way on towards the Melbourne hairpin, passing those little bit of tyres there on the left-hand side of your picture in towards the very slow Melbourne hairpin. As David said, it's two bites to the cherry there. It's two bites as well as we head our way up towards Goddard's, this blind apex here. You don't see it until you're halfway through the corner, and by that point you'll only realise if you've got it all wrong. Back onto the power for Silver Pyramids as he makes his way towards the line, currently 7th fastest and stays 7th fastest. Well, there we go then. Luke Whitehead from Wojciech Neuwirth. Just over 0.7 of a second separates them. It was a much smaller margin than we expected, David.
Yeah, it was smaller than it was in open practice as well, so great to see that. Again, you know, it's the whole thing here, and times for show, points to go. That's what all matters in the next couple of hours anyway. We've got that 30-minute sprint race and then that hour race coming up as well. And Luke Whitehead, I mean, look, we know he's a very, very fast driver, but again, I don't think he's going to be tearing away with this one.
Yeah, if there's one thing about Donington Park is that it's very easy to make a mistake. There's a lot of medium speed corners, and at some point, especially when it comes to the feature race later on, those tyres, you're going to have to start watching them. You don't want them to overheat, especially through this high speed section of the first and just at the start of the second sector. The likes of Hollywood, the Craner Curves, the Old Hairpin, Starkey's Bridge, Fonts Curve, McLean's as well. They're all high speed corners that can really catch you out if you just hit the bump wrong or take a little bit of curb in the wrong way. These corners will bite back.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case, and I think it just sets itself up very, very nicely for a thrilling race. I mean, while all the attention was on Luke Whitehead, that's now another 5-6 drivers, Kieran, that we've got within 0.5 of a second. I make that of each other as well. So yeah, this is going to be epic.
It is indeed, and hopefully you'll be along for the ride as well here for round 8 of the HyperX Open Series. Of course, a big thank you to our title sponsor HyperX and our sponsors AMD, GT Omega, Thrustmaster, VisitMalta.com and Gaming Malta. And hopefully you're enjoying your time here wherever you're watching us, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on Esports Television, Motorsport TV and TVM Sport. It is a pleasure to have you along, and we hope you're enjoying the broadcast so far. We're not too far away from some racing action. Sprint racing, 30-minute race. Just put that pedal to the floor, that right-hand pedal, and hopefully it goes well for you. We're about to find out then. David, who's your money on?
Ooh, that's it'd be difficult to look past Luke Whitehead, but let's have a look here. I'm thinking... my heart wants the GTR just to absolutely destroy the field, just to win the race and just head off. I want to see Sheldon Muscat get a great result here, but realistically I think Luke Whitehead, but let's not go. Let's make it controversial. Let's go with Wojciech Neuwirth.
Ooh, there we go. So that's your Christie prediction then. I was going to make a pun out of that, and then I just quickly hit a brick wall and realised it wasn't going to happen. So, but there we go. Sprint racing there. We will see how it all plays out.
Oh, who's your money on, Kieran? Come on, let's get your prediction as well.
I am a professional sitting on the fence pundit. I don't get it, but Luke Whitehead is amazingly quick, and he's amazingly quick in every bit of machinery. I think you'd be a fool not to put your money on Luke Whitehead, but I think for the sake of having a battle for the top, a battle for the lead, you'd want Wojciech Neuwirth to show his pace. He knows he's got it. And with the two of them, if Wojciech Neuwirth gets a good start and maybe gets alongside in towards Redgate, well, who knows how that could end out.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm hoping for, just because it'll make that an epic battle for the lead. But regardless of where you are in this field, there are points to be won, prizes to be won, and some egos to be fed as well, I think, Kieran.
Are you talking about me?
I was actually talking about myself, but you know.
I see. Yes. We've got to feed the ego of Mr. David Christie, otherwise it all goes horribly wrong. But I have to say, we're at Castle Donington in the heart of Derby, a racetrack that really sprung into life in the 1930s. All that little bit of drive then, especially after the Second World War, the drive of motorsport at Donington Park really has made it a vital bit of British motorsport history.
It absolutely has, and this is the bit that I always laugh at with British motorsport. So in England, all of the English tracks, or the majority of them, are all like former RAF runways and airstrips and things like that. Whereas up here in Scotland, Knockhill was like a field that we decided to make it a racetrack up here. So slightly less noble, but no less thrilling. But yeah, look, all of the UK tracks are wonderful additions to the world of motorsport. But Donington is so very special, especially with this short runoff that they start at the Melbourne hairpin. Yeah, it's a wonderful track. The guys are in for a laugh tonight, and there we go. Let's get this underway.
Let's get this underway indeed. Of course, the track went under a redevelopment in 1986, where it added this part of the circuit, the Melbourne hairpin, and then takes us back onto the start-finish straight. It's remained relatively unchanged ever since then. A bit of reprofiling in the third sector in 2010, but it's remained relatively unchanged since 1986. Well, Luke Whitehead is currently on pole position then as he brings the car around Goddard's and brings it onto the start-finish straight. When those lights go out, we go racing for the sprint race at World Pro Racing here for round 8 of the HyperX Open Series. The green flag will be among us very, very shortly to get things underway here at Donington Park. The green flag is out. We are now racing, and it's a fantastic start then for Luke Whitehead. He instantly takes the lead. How about Sheldon Muscat then up the inside? There's contact between the two of them. Sheldon Muscat makes contact with Wojciech Neuwirth. They both keep the car running in the same direction. But look at this then. The Audi of Wojciech manages to sneak his way through in towards second place. I bet the Bulgarian was not expecting that going in towards turn 1. And look at this hard charging Nissan of Silver Pib. It's David Christie's dreams are coming true.
Oh, I'm so happy right now. Pyramids in that GTR absolutely making hay while the sun shines here at Donington, and that Audi is going to be backing the field up because none of the cars really want to make a move early on, and I've got to be honest, that was all on Sheldon Muscat. That, you know, that thought, I want to say thoughtful, but that brave dive up the inside into Redgate in turn 1. That's what caused the accident. Oh my goodness me, the Audi almost gets absolutely wiped out from Neuwirth there. Neuwirth gets sent to the back of the field, gets rejoining again, but that could have been a horrible, horrible collision. Meanwhile, Luke Whitehead, I think it's safe to say, Kieran, has got the picnic table out and he's going for a cup of tea.
Yeah, I think that was the last we saw of Luke Whitehead in this race. I have to be completely honest.
He's already left the server.
He's already gone. There he is now, making his way on towards the start of this race to start the second lap of this race. Wojciech then is in second place, and then it's Silver Pyramid in third, Stramair in fourth, Sheldon Muscat in fifth place there. And as they make their way through, in fact, Wojciech then is trying to build a gap now on Silver Pyramid. So not only now do the drivers behind in Stramair, in Muscat, in Neuwirth, they have to get past that Nissan. They now have to do that and then get past the Audi before they have a sniff of a chance of taking the sprint race victory here. And they haven't got long to do it. Oh, that's the Nissan.
Oh, there goes the Nissan into the wall. That is, oh, he's so lucky that he managed to avoid that. Gets back onto the track there, and that could have been so much worse for the GTR. I've got to be honest, I'm really stunned by Ivalo Wojciech in that Audi, because I said a lap ago that he was going to be backing the field up. Not a chance. Absolutely none of it. Already a way off, and quite happy in that second place, and it looks like Stramair taking that third place then after the demise of the GTR.
Absolutely, and a frustrating start for Wojciech Neuwirth then. He's got to try and make his way back up the order. I mean, fair play to him, he managed to miss then Wojciech right up ahead of him, but it just seemed like he missed his braking zone. Either that or his brakes were just slightly too cold coming in towards the corner, and he didn't realise it until it was just before too late. He did manage to avoid the back of that Audi though, albeit he had to take evasive action. He's actually having a battle there with, I think that's Ash Knight in towards the final corner, and it is Ash Knight then. He's managed to get himself, or keep himself ahead I should say, because Ash Knight is putting up a bit of a fight here as they make their way now down towards Redgate.
Brilliant start to the race there, 4 minutes almost on the clock already. Sheldon Muscat trying to undo that damage into turn 1, gets himself up in the 4th position, trying to hunt down Daniel Stramair right now ahead in that Aston Martin. But again, my eyes are absolutely turned by Ivalo Wojciech in that Audi, the number 64 in 2nd position. We knew that there was a risk with Luke Whitehead that he was going to do this, but he's absolutely away with this race right now, and if this is anything to go by, Kieran, this hour race is going to be a very straightforward affair for him.
We were riding aboard there with Sheldon Muscat, and that just shows you how committed of a driver he is. He was right on the bubble of the limit there, just not bursting that bubble just yet, as he now makes his way in towards the Fogarty S's. And the Fogarty S's is an interesting complex of corners because it needs you to be brave. It requires you to be brave. You need to take those curbs at some pace, but they are so easy to get wrong. Not only cutting the corner, but also pushing your luck with the curbs so that they bite back.
And that's exactly it. That's the point I was trying to make earlier, is those sausage curbs that are deep on the inside there, they really affect your handling and suspension of the car, not to mention the tyre pressures that your car is running, which then have an impact, a negative impact on the handling of the car. Now, as well as Evalio Boychev for the 64 Audi FDS racing machine was doing, I fear he's getting caught by Daniel Strumer here and Sheldon Muscat as well.
Yes, he is. He is indeed. Strumer is closing in on him there. And for Boychev, it was not a very good first couple of corners. A bit scrappy, a couple of grass cuttings here. And it's allowed Daniel Strumer to start to close in once again. Strumer set his fastest lap of the race last time around, as he now makes his way through Coppice, and even then the back end's trying to fight away with you as you try and put the power down, but now he'll have that lovely bit of slipstream all the way towards the Fogarty S's. Kirsten Abea has now returned to the pit lane. Hopefully we'll get to see him back out in this session, but it doesn't look very likely so far. Strumer then down towards the Melbourne hairpin. No such move existing just yet, but he's piling on the pressure. And there's Sheldon Muscat right behind, who fancies a piece of this action as well, heading up towards Goddard's.
Yeah, and I'm wondering actually if Wojtek Neuwirth was caught out by the early braking of Boychev there in the 64, and that's what led to the almost collision going into the Fogarty S's there. But no harm, no foul, as we said earlier on, with 6 minutes on the clock already. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder about that Audi now, because the pace of it can really stretch its legs down this first section of the circuit here, down through Hollywood, down through the Craner curves, down into Old Hairpin, but then through the rest of it, it's losing time to Strumer and Muscat. And again, I wonder how quickly they'll be able to get past that 64.
Well, there's Ash Knight then in the number 9 Porsche. He was having a great battle away with Wojtek Neuwirth then, but Neuwirth has since managed to build a 1.4 second gap. Silver Pyramids as well, just under 0.8 of a second behind Ash Knight then as they make their way in towards Coppice. But our race leader is absolutely running away with this one. Just over 7 seconds clear at the last timing line. Well, it's actually now 10 seconds. It must have been about 2 sectors since I last looked at that. It's now 10.1 seconds, the gap between Whitehead and Boychev. And it'll only get bigger if Strumer wants to have a battle with Boychev. And Boychev, you can see, already taking slightly defensive lines into each corner. That's just going to exacerbate things. That's going to help Luke Whitehead to build even bigger gaps. So it really will start to snowball against the likes of Strumer, of Muscat, and of Neuwirth, who is very quickly, I should say, closing in on this battle. Not very closely, quickly on this battle.
But also, look at that. So Luke Whitehead about 10, make that maybe 12 seconds ahead of this battle here. But realistically, Boychev, Strumer, Muscat and Wojtek Neuwirth as well, that's what, about maybe 3 seconds of a gap between all of them right now, maybe 4 seconds as well. That isn't all that much, and again, if they're stuck behind the Saudi for a couple more laps, that's going to bring Knight and Neuwirth back into this fight as well. So we can safely ignore Luke Whitehead. He's a consummate professional. He knows this track like the back of his hand. I've got no doubt whatsoever that it's going to be a very, very quiet race for him. But further behind him, yeah, this is starting to get very, very tasty indeed.
Mark the time of that one, because that may just be the commentator's curse that we were not expecting there from David Christie. Meanwhile then, Daniel Strumer looking at the back of the Audi of Boychev then as we make our way in towards the Fogarty S's. Not normally an overtaking opportunity, and I think Strumer found out why. It narrows up very quickly. There goes Sheldon Muscat though, who finds his way up the inside, coming in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Strumer will now try and follow him through as he tries to wade his way through. Muscat has got the move done. Boychev manages to hang on to 3rd place, and Strumer will be wondering what on earth went wrong. Here goes Boychev then down the inside in towards Goddard's then. He wants that move straight back into 2nd place. The Bulgarian goes. He is showing no signs of really rolling over and letting this one get away from him. If he's got the pace, which he has, he's not giving up. Great move from Boychev, great battle from Muscat, and Stramair wanted that move done for second place. He's now down to fourth and trying to defend against Nerveth now. How quickly things can change.
Exactly, they've all been overdriving the tyres, because look at Sheldon Muscat. You saw him on the exit of Redgate there, having a little bit of a wiggle trying to get back onto the power. That's left him very vulnerable to Daniel Stramair there. They're side by side then, coming up towards McLean's head through Schwantz curve, and there we go, another position done. Stramair up in the third position, but runs wide again, and there goes Sheldon Muscat up the inside. This is nuts. I have never seen anything like this game before. 20 minutes left to go in this race. Poor Boychev is like, hello, where have you all gone? I'm just going to have this second place then. And rightfully so in this Audi. What a battle we've got going on.
What a battle we've got indeed as they make their way through the Fogarty S's once again. Sheldon Muscat taking the curves, but this time Nerveth fancies his moves. He had a great run through the S's there and takes the position away. Here comes Stramair then, fancying his chances now up the inside. They go then. Up they go. Have they got it? Yes, he has. Stramair now moves up a position. So nicely done there from Stramair. He wanted that move a lap ago. It didn't quite happen for him, and he finds himself still in fifth place. Now he's got Nerveth ahead of him, but they are coming into the pit lane then. So the pit window apparently is open. Well, that's going to be an interesting one. There was you and I thinking, David, that there was no pit window.
That. Yeah, I thought that was only the 60-minute race, but it's fine. We'll call it as we see it then. So 30-minute sprint race, they've got a 10-minute pit window that they do have to come in. That does change things very, very slightly, but that now means that the 64 of Boychev, kind of safe in that second position for just now. But I'll be very interested to see how this one's going to pan out here.
We could wait and see. For Luke Whitehead, though, he's just making his way now through the Fogarty S's. That seems to be a corner we've said a lot then. He's making his way now on towards the Melbourne hairpin and very, very happily leading this race then. So Stramair and Pyrmits then have come into the pits. They've done their mandatory pit stop. They are now just making their way, I believe that's through the old hairpin. And then they go to Starkey's Bridge. There they are then. So Pyrmits is now ahead of Stramair.
How's that happened? How's Pyrmits got the jump on Stramair? That must have all been out the pits. And where is Stramair going? Goodness me, cold brakes or what? That is, well, Kieran, that was quite an eye-opener.
That was close, wasn't it? That was very close. Well, the only thing I can think of for Stramair is when we've been speaking in the past to the likes of Luke Whitehead et al. About the pit lane, if you miss your box, it is a nightmare to have to put the car in reverse, then find your pit box once again. And by the time you've done that, you've lost 5-10 seconds in the pit lane just by missing your marks very, very slightly. That's what could have happened to Dan Stramair then, and that's why he finds himself behind Silver Pyrmits, then making the mistake in towards McLean's and finding himself in 6th place, 4 seconds behind this Nissan, this Ninko Racing Nissan.
Well, that is a turn up for the books then. That means that Neuwirth then does the jump, gets himself out as well as we wait for more pit stops. We've got Luke Whitehead, we've got the number 64 of Vivalio, Boychev still coming to the pits, as does Sheldon Muscat, but those two very close on tracks, 2.6 seconds. And let's talk for a minute about this, Luke. Let's talk for a minute about Luke Whitehead, because I don't think we can overstate just what a performance this is, to be, 17 minutes or 13 minutes into a 30-minute race and he's already 20 seconds up ahead of everyone. That is scandalous pace.
Scandalous pace. That's one way of putting it. There's a 25.9 then from Luke Whitehead. He's saying he's desperately trying to get this 24. And, I mean, 25.5 in the race, considering his qualifying time was in the 24s, that's a phenomenal pace from him so far as he now makes his way in through Hollywood, now in towards the Craner curves, in towards the old hairpin. Just so much confidence in the car, in the setup, how the car is working, how the car is behaving, and it shows, doesn't it?
It really does. He's just mastered that machine. The Porsche is not the easiest beast to tame, and he's done a brilliant job of getting the absolute most performance out of that machine. And yeah, look, it's shown with how dominant he is tonight. Seeing that Sheldon Muscat into the pits, gets going again, but is going to lose that position in. So Neuwirth, believe it or not, takes 3rd position after all of that.
Yeah, it's a good little drive then from Neuwirth. He's done well to get himself ahead of Pyramid, of Stromare, of Muscat too. So very nicely done indeed. So now he can start to press on and see if he can try and close in to Wojciech up ahead. But Luke Whitehead riding on board with him. We are picture in picture. One riding on board, one watching him go.
Kieran, what's happened to Sheldon Muscat? His mandatory pit stop has not ticked off. Did he take fuel?
Ooh, well, that is going to be a turn up, isn't it?
Unless it usually
look,
ticks off instantly.
Well, the thing is, he's got his left indicator on. Ooh, that's going to be an interesting one. I wonder if he's trying to signal now that he's going to come into the pit lane. If that's the case, that's a disaster for Sheldon Muscat in this sim race, in this sprint race, I should say. We'll have to wait and see. Keep an eye on it. Well spotted there, David. We will keep our eye on it.
Wow, that is, yeah, that's an F in chat if ever I saw one. If that is exactly what it has to be, because as soon as they come out of pits, I mean, watch Wojciech, as soon as he's finished his pit stop, that P disappears and the yellow one disappears to green as well. So there we go. That's confirmation. Sheldon Muscat has botched his pit stop, and how many times did I ever said this? I said to you on the lead up on the practice that, you know, I wanted to see a good result, but Sheldon Muscat is the unluckiest driver I think I've ever seen, and oh man, that is horrible to watch.
Well, he has made his way back to the pit lane once again. This time, hopefully, he will be serving his mandatory stop, but that's going to put him a bit further down the order. Meanwhile, in all of that, Wojciech also came in to serve his stop, and Neuwirth has jumped him. So, Wojciech Neuwirth up into second place. Ivalio Wojciech now down to third after his pit stop, but 1.6 seconds behind the Aston Martin. Not over yet for Wojciech in the Audi. He could still put a turn up for the books for second place. That means then Silver Pyramid is up into fourth place. Dan Stromare is in fifth, and Sheldon Muscat, who now has completed a mandatory pit stop, has rejoined in sixth place. So there's only one driver then who's yet to serve a mandatory pit stop, and that's Luke Whitehead, and he's got just under 4 minutes to do it.
Oh, that's a horrible taste for Sheldon Muscat, because he's just been put a lap down by Luke Whitehead, who is literally about a stone's throw in front of that number 14 car. Granted, Luke does have to come in for pits, but yeah, that's not going to be the turnout that I think Sheldon wanted for tonight's race. I can't believe how Wojciech Neuwirth has got a get out of jail free card after that opening incident. To get back up into second place, that is one hell of a drive from him. And also, we saw the likes of, you know, Daniel Stromare almost taking out the Audi earlier on.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a race for Wojciech Neuwirth, and for him to be now in second place with just over 13 minutes left on the clock is quite incredible. Riding aboard then with Wojciech then, the Bulgarian, he's had a really strong race so far. Not so much in qualifying, but he got a lightning start and managed to take advantage of two drivers, Neuwirth and Muscat, coming together.
Yeah, look, you have to take these chances when they come, and you have to take advantage of them. And he was in the perfect position to be able to just nip round the outside and keep that momentum going. We saw it as well through into the chicane as well, and I think it was Evalio that had the foot down on the exit of the chicane, just again into the hairpin, got the job done. But also noticing that Luke Whitehead still hasn't gone in for his pit stop, so surely has to be in at this lap, and that is a lot of overcorrection. Do you remember my point about the Audi trying to kill you at the earliest possible opportunity?
I do recall something like that, David. I do recall something like that. Well, we shall wait and see if Wojciech can just about hang on. There's Silver Pyramids then in the Ninko Racing Mint Nissan as he now makes his way on towards Goddard once again. And you're right. Looking at the lap times, well, it's either going to be this lap or next lap, but next lap is going to be mighty close. And Wojciech has had a little bit of a moment coming in towards the final corner, and now he's dropped his way back down the order into fourth place. Silver Pyramids now up to a podium position.
Yes, there we go. GTR on the podium. I'm a happy guy. Also, I've got to say, I'm just devastated for Ash Knight, who has disappeared from the server, whose Windows has decided that it's updated itself. He's just posted a picture on Discord of his Windows update screen.
Well, that's handy. At least Windows has got your back, eh, Ash?
Say nothing.
I've heard about engineers making the wrong decision. I've heard of driver mistakes. I've never heard of your operating system just going, no, actually, hang on a minute.
Oh, what better time, than
better
when
time?
you're actually using it and for an esports race?
Well, that and as well, and also, I'm pretty sure on your computers as standard, it's. Oh no, I suppose it would be outside of work hours because it'd be set up 8 till 5 automatically.
25
So I
past 8,
suppose-
you see?
Yeah, you see, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, that is. Well, hopefully we'll see you, Ash, at the feature race. Hopefully, if your computer lets you. Meanwhile, we're heading in towards the Melbourne hairpin, and you can see Ivalio Boychev wants this position. He wants his place back onto the podium in this sprint race as they head their way down towards Goddard's. And once again, Boychev fancies his chances up the inside, but this time, Silver Pyramid is able to defend and keep a hold of third place for now as they head their way up towards Redgate for another lap around. Just over 10 minutes left of the sprint race, and the Audi is all over the back of the Nissan, then back onto the power as they make their way towards Hollywood.
You know how we're supposed to be impartial and partisan, Anyway, I've got to be honest. I'm every fibre of my bone is rooting on this GTR right now because it's a car you never see winning anything right now or being remotely competitive unless everything's been BOP'd to high goodness. And this is Ivalio Boychev on the final corner. Then too much speed into the corner. Does a good job, actually, to be fair, of not making that any worse than it was. But that's exactly how the GTR got past there and how the GTR is staying ahead. Yes, this is what I like to see. Pushing back towards Daniel Stramer, get at them two fighting, and that third position is yours.
Well, I have to say, it was, as you said, Boychev taking just a little bit too much speed in towards the final corner. And it's such a, it's a blind apex. And after 20, 25, 30 minutes, you would think you'd know where to go. But even then, it's all about that muscle memory. And if you take slightly too much speed in with the setup that you have that's already slightly on the edge because of the suspension you're running, it will just simply not play ball. We talked about these corners, biting back, and we saw that happen right there. But fair play to Boychev. What he did was put the right foot down, spin up the rear tyres, and pretty much get himself the right way as quickly as possible. Unfortunately for him, it didn't work in enough a time to prevent Silver Pyramid from passing him for the podium positions. Let me just tell you something, David. Luke Whitehead is leading by nearly 29 seconds ahead of Wojciech Neuwirth, and we still have 8.5 minutes to go. There is no slowdown option for Luke Whitehead. It is either 100 or 100. That is the dial that Luke Whitehead has.
Yeah, but he's going to have to try and put a lap again on on Sheldon Muscat very shortly, and I don't fancy the odds against that one with how fighty Sheldon Muscat was earlier on. So all bets are off for the final 8 minutes of this race. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue given that Sheldon is about, probably about 10 seconds up the road. But, I mean, look, this has been an amazing race for Luke Whitehead. Did everything that he needs to do for this 30-minute race. All eyes now. You've got to say, Kieran, going on to that we'll just pretend we didn't see that 60-minute race from Sheldon Muscat there.
Yeah, we did well to cut away from Sheldon there just before anything happened there. He was
doing
perfectly fine. Yeah, doing perfectly fine, and was doing perfectly fine when we left him. I promise. Silver Pyramids then still in third place then, and still very comfortable defending against Ivalio Boychev. In fact, if anything, that gap is increasing just lap after lap. It's very slowly increasing, but it is increasing, and that will be music to Silver Pyramid's ears. Boychev in fourth place. Dan Stramer also in that battle for fifth place then, as Boychev lights up the rear tyres on the exit curb out of Redgate and leaving those tyre marks there, as Pyramids then still in third place. Well, you said there, David, you wanted the Nissan to turn up and put a result in. Well, so far, less than 7 minutes away is Silver Pyramids from grabbing a podium in the sprint race.
The other thing I said was about Luke Whitehead putting a lap down on Sheldon Muscat, and unfortunately that's happened because Muscat had a horrendous chicane at the Fogarty S's, brought out yellow flag, and Luke Whitehead was like, yeah, see ya. Puts a lap down, and job done. 6.5 minutes left to go, and I've got to be honest, I don't think any of us could have called this top three right now.
No, absolutely not. Let's have a look at a replay then. So this is Sheldon Muscat making his way through the Fogarty S's. And yep, you're right. Just takes a little bit too much speed through. And the back end says, you're having a laugh, aren't you? Well, he does manage to. Does he manage to? I guess he managed to spin it back up and get back going again, as he is still running out there. But He's had a little bit of issue at the old hairpin though.
Oh, he's brought out another yellow flag there. That's down through Craner Curves. So at this rate, Sheldon Muscat, well, there's no really any further down that he can go, is it? Kirsten Bear is about 12 laps behind, so I don't think he's going to lose that position.
No, I think Kirsten Bay has parked it in the pit garage. He's been there for, as it says, 12 laps now, so we're not going to see him back into this sprint race. Hopefully we'll see him in the feature race, which is quickly following on from the sprint race you're seeing here. Let's have a replay then of Sheldon Muscat. So this is going to be at the Craner Curbs, heading up towards the old hairpin here. Let's see what happens. Oh, yeah, he just took too much speed in, and again the rear end just let go on him.
That's a highly unusual one. I'll be completely honest with you. I've not really seen that. But back to the race with 5 minutes to go. Silver Pyramids, he's away. And Ninko Racing is going to be very happy with this, because look at Boychev, who was looking so happy up in second position. Now, for some reason, Daniel Stremer is thinking, yeah, I could possibly get 4th place out of this.
Probably. Well, let's see what happens then, because we've got 5 minutes to find out. Dan Stremer then down in towards the Melbourne hairpin, and the tightest corner on the circuit really. Back up the gears then through second, through third, as we see what can Dan Stremer do as we head our way then towards Goddardton. It's such a terrifying corner when you start to slow the car down and you're just steering in and hoping that you've got the right steering angle, you've got the right racing line, your corner has been picked out perfectly, because it's not until halfway through you find out, actually I might not have taken a lot of speed, or I might have taken too much. That might be the worst scenario out of the two. Stremer putting the power down out of Redgate, a little bit of a twitch from the rear end, but not too bad, as he now makes his way through the Craner Curves. Onwards we go then, and then in towards the old hairpin. We saw that catch out Sheldon Muscat just a lap ago, and yet the rear end just not too happy on Dan Stremer at the moment. We've seen it a couple of times so far on this lap alone. He's clearly got a nervous setup on the car, but he clearly feels comfortable with it.
Yeah, he does, and unfortunately Sheldon Muscat having another issue at the old hairpin. Again, it looks like exactly the same issue, that back end just washing out of the car there. Daniel Stremer though out of Coppice down on Starkey Straight. Looks like he's got a run on that Audi of Evalio Boychev and through into the Fogarty S's. This is now starting to get a little bit fighty. 3.5 minutes left to go in this race. Is it going to be a move down into the Melbourne hairpin? He thinks about it, possibly lining up for a move at Goddard's.
He thought about it, I thought about it as well. I definitely would have tried it, but then again, that's probably why I'm up here instead of out there. That's probably why. In towards Goddard's we go once again. And then back onto the start-finish straight. Can Daniel Stremer find his way past Boychev and into 4th place, as we see then just a little bit of an odd camera view of just onto the entrance in towards Redgate there, as the battle for 4th place continues on into the final 3 minutes. Can the number 1 car, the GT Omega RPM Esports Aston Martin, find its way past that really lovely yellow FDS Racing Evalio Boychev, the number 64 Audi? As they power their way through, it's the closest battle out on track with 2.5 minutes left to run. Will Stremer find the way past, or will Boychev just be able to hang on to 4th?
I think he might be able to hold on to 4th. It's going to be one thing for Stremer to catch up. I don't know if he's going to have enough grunt in that car, although it could be up to Boychev to make a mistake here. But I've got to be honest, I'm just too delighted that Silver Pyramids is going to take that podium in the big bad Godzilla. Definitely didn't see that one coming, but yeah, okay, I'll maybe take that back, because Stremer's got one hell of a run out of the chicane there, down into the Melbourne hairpin here.
Going round the outside, not an ideal place, but it will give him a little bit of a switchback to see if he can put the power down earlier. It's what he does with that power now as we head away towards Goddard. Thought about a move up the inside, but Boychev has loved that move up the inside, so he's the ideal person to know how to defend from it as we head away once again on towards the Wheatcroft Straight and towards Redgate once again. And still, Stremer cannot find a way past Evalio Boychev, and with Boychev having to focus on defending for 4th place, it's allowing Silver Pyramids to relieve the pressure on himself for 3rd place. He can try and just coast as much as possible, with Boychev focusing on his rear view rather than what's ahead of him.
weirdly not as much as I thought that Silver Pyramids would do. So Silver is dropping back in pace as well to these two, and I wonder if he's actually starting to drag these two with him. So it might not be over yet as we start the final lap of the race then for Luke Whitehead going across the start-finish line just now. And yeah, very, very much looking forward to this.
There he goes then on his final lap of the sprint race. Of course, we've got the feature race coming up not long after that, so stick with us for that one. Another feature race, another pit stop to behold, and strategies will no doubt be enforced there with tyre wear doubled, really, if you like, in the pit stops. So you'll have to work with tyres that are twice as worn when you get to your pit window as you did in this race. But Luke Whitehead then making his way once again through McLaren's. He really hasn't put a foot wrong in this race so far. Up the hill we go then towards Coppice for this final time, and just so much confidence to throw the car into each corner and know that it's going to stick, know that it's going to behave, know that it's going to be underneath you when you throw it in. As we head up towards the Fogarty S's for the final time in the sprint race, chucking it through here one last time, back onto the power towards the Melbourne hairpin. He's done a wonderful job in this sprint race. It's a bit of a lonely race for him so far, but I'm sure he won't mind too much. Back onto the power then, out of the Melbourne hairpin as we head over the crest and towards the blind apex of Goddard's as you try and slow this car down one last time through this last left-hander, back onto the start-finish straight. It's going to be a sprint race win here at Donington Park at the HyperX Open Series for Luke Whitehead. He will take the first win of the evening there. And what a stunning drive. Absolutely unstoppable.
Brilliant, brilliant win there, and I can't believe Wojciech Neuwirth going to take this the second place, but my eyes are a little bit distracted because I'm looking for that third place battle that's just behind him as well, as we see Wojciech Neuwirth coming out of the Melbourne hairpin then down towards Goddard's, then that long sweeping right-hander, and you can see in the background there's the fight for third, fourth and fifth right now. Here we go. This is Silver Pyramids, and he's got Boychev behind him, Daniel Strumer as well, looking left and right. Is Strumer going to make a move for the final corner? I think not. I think it's going to be third place for the GTR, the minty boy himself. I cannot believe that, Kieran. Awesome, awesome stuff.
Great battling for that top three towards the end there, and in fact great battling for many of the drivers throughout there. So that concludes the sprint race. We've got the feature race coming up very, very shortly, but David, lots to unpack there. A dominant Luke Whitehead winning by nearly half a minute. In fact, if not more. We had Neuwirth and Muscat making contact into Redgate on lap 1, and Neuwirth then goes back to recover to second place. And we had the Nissan, your favourite Nissan of all time, getting onto the podium. What a race!
That was absolutely fantastic. And again, this is what I was saying. You know, you'd think, oh, we've only got 8 cars, so it's going to be boring. That was anything but boring. That was awesome, awesome stuff, and really, really looking forward to it. So again, we've got the qualifying, the sprint race out of the way, and very shortly we'll be going in for our second race of the evening, a 60-minute race. And while, yes, I think that Luke Whitehead is tipped, I think he'd be very silly to put this one past him. He's now going to have to, I would imagine he's going to start trying to lap a lot of this field.
Yeah, that's going to be an ambition for him, isn't it? I believe Michael Schumacher in one race managed to lap all the way up until the podium in one of his most dominant races of all time. I'm sure he'll be trying to replicate that in the next race. It's going to take a lot of work, though, because we've already seen Neuwirth does have a bit of pace about him. What a different race it could have been for him had he and Muscat not made contact in towards Redgate.
Yes and no. I think that Wojciech got as much out of that race as he possibly could have. I think pace-wise, he still wouldn't have had too much. If he managed to hold Luke Whitehead to account for that first couple of corners, then yes. But that first corner incident with Sheldon Muscat, I think, cost him everything from that. After that point, Luke was absolutely away, and I think Sheldon kind of only has himself to blame after that very, very difficult start to the race. It kind of all went south very quickly for him. I do wonder if tyre pressures were an issue for him.
Well, we saw a tough race for Sheldon Muscat, of course. You know, we've seen that he is a quick driver. We know he's a quick driver. wasn't his night, but we keep saying wasn't his night. It's not a phrase we want to keep saying for Sheldon Muscat, but it's so often the case that it's true.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because there's being fast and there's being well versed in racecraft and being able to actually deliver the results. And that's the problem, is that I know inside from watching Sheldon, from watching him drive, he's got he's got all of the ingredients that you need to make one of the top sim racers. It's just going to take time. It's going to take something needs to click, whether that is a setup, whether that's some mentoring or whatever, but something needs to click, and it will happen in the next 6 months to a year. But when that does, we're definitely going to hear a lot more from him.
Definitely so. I mean, let's Ash Knight, obviously, hopefully his Windows updates, hopefully he can rejoin us and join the fun again for the feature race, but he had a bit of good pace about him. Yeah, he was starting to fall away before the problem hit for him, but he was running in 6th place at the time.
Yeah, and again, that's really all you needed to do, because when we look at all of the incidents that were going on, that 6th place very quickly could have turned into a podium position if he'd played his cards right. But unfortunately, technical issues happen all the time. They happen in real life motorsport just as much as in esports and sim racing. So yeah, as you said, fingers crossed he's got that all resolved and we get him back on the grid for race number 2.
Yeah, you say technical issues can happen to anybody. They happened here. World Pro Racing let me back in the box. That's a huge issue right there. But no, in all seriousness, that was a great battle for 3rd place towards the end there. I mean, the Nissan being the unlikely podium candidate there. I mean, that was great from Dan Stramer to try and find his way through the pack once again, but he just couldn't quite do it. And for Boychev as well, that mistake into the final corner with minutes to go was his downfall.
That changed everything for Evalio Boychev. That, as you said, that instant going into Goddard's in that final corner, it could have been so different. However, it is what it is. You just have to pick up from these mistakes, dust yourself down, and get yourself on with it as well. And I hope that we're going to see a very different complexion to this race. I hope that we see potentially a different winner, but I want that to be done on the racetrack. I don't want that to be because of a move into turn 1, if that makes sense.
Well, wherever you're watching in the world, we hope you're having just as much fun as we are in the commentary box on the Esports Television Network, Motorsport TV, TVM Sport, and also on YouTube, on Facebook. To our title sponsors in HyperX, in the HyperX Open Series, and of course to our sponsors in AMD, GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster, Gaming Malta, and visitmalta.com. Well, I've just been told by a little birdie in my ear that the national championship that that World Pro Racing ran had a total of 667,000 views, which is absolutely amazing. But I have to say, that just shows you, finding out the fastest driver in Malta here, it was enough to attract 667,000 people. That's astonishing.
Yeah, that is a big number there, well on its way to 750,000 views on that. And again, it's testament to where esports is going, and also the hard work that the team at World Pro Racing have put in behind the scenes, Kieran. Justin and Adrian and the rest of the guys and girls involved. Absolutely relentless, though, the work that they are putting in, and yeah, it's shown that with the competitions and the caliber of the competitions that they're able to put on. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but it's still absolutely worth shouting from the rooftops.
Yeah, Justin and Adrian got them to have the opportunity to appear on TVM Sport as well, to have a chat and really discuss the sort of last 4 years at World Pro Racing. And I did have to try and see if I could subtitle it because they were speaking Maltese. And unfortunately, me being English, we don't speak other languages, unfortunately. That's just the way it is. Justin's just told me he'll subtitle it.
I was the way to say, what we do in other countries is we just point to the menu and go,
that's it.
That's it. I want that with tomato sauce.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, we're not far away now from us blathering on about anything for us to get into the feature race. And Luke Whitehead obviously starting on pole position. Neuwirth will get another chance to see if he can grab the race victory on the very first lap. And of course, if you do want to join this racing action, you of course can. We'd love to have you along. worldproracing.com, and make sure you follow us on all the social media, on Facebook, on Twitter and elsewhere. So the drivers then are making their way through. Unfortunately, no Kirsten Abaya taking the start, and Ash Knight has not resolved his issues with Windows. No, trust me, he's tried turning it off and on again. That seemed to what's caused the problem. However, Luke Whitehead there will lead the field through these final couple of corners in towards Goddard's. Neuwirth will once again try his hand and see if he can make his way through the order. Then it's Boychev and Muscat right behind them as they make their way on towards the Wheatcroft Straight. And once again, we're at the mercy of the green flag to get ourselves running. 60 minutes here on the clock. And we are racing then. Luke Whitehead once again gets a brilliant start. Neuwirth this time defends the inside line. Once again, Boychev tries to go the long way around then. He might find himself slightly onto the curb there. He does, and Muscat finds himself into trouble. He drops away to the back of the order. Whitehead once again is able to just pull a lead already. Neuwirth managing to hold on to second place this time. Boychev giving him a hard time through then. And then Silver Pyramid is behind Daniel Stramer as Sheldon Muscat drops from 3rd to 6th. It's not been a great start for him as they head their way now up the rise then in towards McLean's. And you can see Boychev right up ahead trying to find his way past Neuwirth up towards Coppice. The two drivers will go in a battle for second place. And riding on board with Silver Pyramids in the Nissan. He's got a podium in the sprint race to his name. He's currently in 5th place, trying to stay in touch with Dan Stramer as the drivers now make their way on towards the Fogarty S's. Dan Stramer we're riding on board with then as we head our way through the Fogarty S's. There's your answer, David. That's where the tyre wall is. It's right on the inside of the first part of the Fogarty S's.
Right, here's a question for you, Kim. How on earth has Luke Whitehead taken 2 seconds of a gap in one lap, on the opening lap? That is just ridiculous pace from Luke Whitehead here. Meanwhile, I'll tell you what, Wojtek Neuwirth, he's got a real battle in his hand now because we've got, what's that, a 4-car, 5-car battle for second place. This is going to be a spicy, spicy race, and I'm gutted because Gergely Kunsabo had just fired up the sim to join in. He was scheduled to join us, just got home from work, fired it up, and just missed out by about 2 minutes.
That's a shame. That's a shame. And we all love to see Kuba in the car, seeing if we can make his way up the order. I do remember, though, when he decided to, I think it was the racing at the Nürburgring. It was a 90-minute race, and meanwhile we're seeing Muscat then trying to find his way past Silver Pyramids then as we make our way up through McLean's. No way through this time for the big Bentley then as they head their way now up towards Coppice once again. And Sheldon Muscat here, it's a bit of a knock of confidence in the last race, and it seems to have carried over to the start of this one. He did start in 3rd, of course, and he's dropped to 6th behind the Nissan, seeing if he can try a way through the Fogarty. As we've already seen, it's not really an overtaking opportunity.
It's not, but yeah, well, I've got no doubt we'll actually see that as an overtaking opportunity later on in the race. Look, what you've got to watch out for here from Sheldon Muscat is the frustration level kicking in. He wants to get past that big bad GTR of Silver Pyramids, and it's not going to happen because Silver can absolutely stretch the legs on that thing and start frustrating the Bentley there. You're going to start seeing the Bentley starting to make some wild lunges into the corner. I can absolutely guarantee you of that one. But Wojtek Neuwirth there still up in 2nd place ahead of Ivalio Boychev in the Audi right now. Those two have broken away from Daniel Stramer from Silver Pyramids and from Sheldon Muscat. They're in a little lonely 2-car battle right now just now.
Yeah, Neuwirth managing to stay in 2nd place, Boychev 3rd, as you rightly said, and Boychev doesn't seem to be going anywhere outside of the rearview mirror of Neuwirth at the moment, as they now make their way through McLean's. Stramer, Pyramids and Muscat, they seem to be breaking away themselves, their battle for 4th place goes on. Stramair leading that battle at the moment, and Sheldon Muscat all over the back of that mint green Nissan of Silver Pyramids. That spec you can see up there, well, that's Luke Whitehead. He's leading the way by nearly 4 seconds at this early stage of the race. There he is, closer up this time around. They do say, though, David, that if you're leading the race and you don't see much of you on the cameras, that's normally a good sign.
Yeah, it really is. The fact that we didn't get a chance to talk about it much into to race 1 kind of says it all, really. But that means that we get more time, Kieran, to focus on this amazing battle here, with 5 cars swapping out all the positions into the final spots on the podium.
Yeah, definitely. We will absolutely wait and see how this all unfolds. Don't forget as well, we've got the pit window to deal with as well. Tyre changes are not mandatory, but taking on fuel is mandatory. You do need to stop for fuel at some point in that pit window when it does open. So we shall see what the drivers do then. And it sort of begs the question then, David, you know, with the fuel, you would want to try and pit as late as possible. If fuel's the mandatory aspect of it, you'd want to pit as late as possible and try and use the lighter car during the pit window in order to try and make up your time.
To a certain extent, for most things you would think that, but with the cars like for Sheldon Muscat, it works opposite way around. That car prefers having a heavier load on it and having the extra weight. So what he'll be wanting to do is just keep as much weight on that car as possible, just to keep it as fast and as stable as it possibly can. Once that thing drops under about 8 or 9 laps worth of fuel, it becomes a little bit leery and a little bit easier to overdrive. So I think he'll be one coming in earlier rather than later. But yeah, it's for the other cars, they'll wanting to keep the car as light as possible, get as much speed in, and get a clear track in front of them as well.
I've got to say, David, I had the opportunity. I don't have a proper sim rig, but I finally got the opportunity to do one, to get onto one, and to try ACC out for myself. It is not easy. These cars are a huge, huge handful. Boychev, meanwhile, then making his way up towards Redgate, maybe looking for a move up the inside, maybe just filling the mirrors of the Aston Martin ahead of him for now, and making the Aston Martin make a decision. And sometimes, David, if you coax someone into making a decision to defend, that's just as good as trying to make an overtake happen.
It absolutely is, because what happens is you force the driver in front of you, Kieran, to become defensive, and when they become defensive, they're not as fast as their ultimate lap time could be, and they're constantly fighting you, which means that they slow themselves down, which is exactly what's happening with Silver Pyramids here. We saw him in the last race looking very comfortable in that 3rd position, but it's not happening here because he's been hustled and hounded by Sheldon Muscat. Now, if the two of them were clever, they would knuckle down and catch up to the likes of Wojtek Neuwirth and Boychev and Stramair as well, but as they're fighting just now, they're just going to drop further and further back here.
That's right, and that's the really catch-22 of the entire battling scenario, as Boychev leaves his braking late and is almost pushing the Aston Martin all the way through the Melbourne hairpin, getting on with it. He says, we want to finish this race, we want to finish this lap now. He'll have to go the long way around then in towards Goddard's if he wants to pull this move off. Might open up a little bit of a cutback, but the car snaps on him halfway through the corner, so he really has to abandon that one. And that momentum he was carrying through, the car, the rear end, just could not keep itself in check.
Yeah, you saw that there. The car, he wanted to get the cutback on the corner, turned in too early. The car took too tight of a line through the corner, and he had to sort of unwind the steering wheel just to wind it back in again. But again, look at how much pace he's got over this Aston Martin right now. And that is a scary sight, seeing that Aston Martin in your rear view mirror, is it not, Kieran?
I would assume so, yeah. I mean, just looking at it at trackside, it is an intimidating machine. One of the most intimidating on the entire grid. So, yeah, it's... I can't say I've had the privilege of being followed by a Bentley in any scenario, but I assume that's what it would be like.
Well, the Bentley is a very, very scary machine as well to have in your rear view mirror, and Silver Pyramids has got all of that and more just now. But we're back on board with Evalio Boychev here for RFDS Racing in the number 64 Audi out through the Fogger S's down towards the Melbourne hairpin to start another lap here. That'll be lap 6 that they're about to start once Luke Whitehead goes across the line just now. 10 minutes in the race gone, and we've got basically 3 races going on right now.
Yeah, 3 for the price of 1. We've got a great battle here for second place between Neuwirth and Boychev then, as they make their way on towards the start-finish straight once again. Stramair then having a look at the gap. Well, he's starting to build the gap now, and he might actually be starting to close in on Boychev and Neuwirth right up ahead. 1.7 is the gap that separates himself and Boychev is Daniel Stramair. Then you've got the battle between Silver Pyramid and Sheldon Muscat for 5th place, as they now make their way in through the Craner curves up towards the old hairpin. They will go. You can see Sheldon Muscat is trying a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but he cannot find a way past that Mint Nissan.
And he's trying everything he can, but this is where the frustration settles in. Thankfully, we've not seen any of it so far from Sheldon, but I think it's going to be a bit of a lunge. Never going to get around the outside of the corner at Coppice there. Has to pull out, and you see all that momentum that he gains from that corner, from that poor exit from the GTR, lost, and the two of them just go further and further back.
Yeah, absolutely. And now coming their way in towards the Fogarty S's once again, back onto the power with 50 minutes left of this race to run. Still, of course, that mandatory pit stop in the pit window to contend with as they make their way in through the... Oh, there's a little bit of a bump then from Sheldon Muscat onto Silver Pyramids then in towards the Melbourne hairpin. You saw Muscat instantly drop away as a sort of sportsmanship part of it. But, yeah, a little bit too close for comfort for Sheldon Muscat this time round. He's got to be careful though, because he can't afford to be damaging the Bentley at that rate.
He really can, and you see how fast he drops off from the back of that Nissan GTR as we go back to the battle then with Neuwirth and Boychev. Just confirmation there that Kirsten Hebert not taking any further part in this race. We didn't see them taken to the start, but that is it now official. We're down to 6 cars with 49 minutes left to go in this race.
We still have a good battle here for second place though. The Aston Martin of Neuwirth having to defend from the Audi of Boychev then. They both make their way through McLean's and then up the hill they go towards Coppice. They've also got Stramair who's lurking in the background. They're both getting away from Daniel Stramair at the moment, but if they start battling, that is when Stramair is going to start eating away at that gap bit by bit.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is exactly what's going to happen here. Luke Whitehead just out by a country mile. I mean, we're 10 minutes into the race and he's already got a 11-second gap. It's at what point does it just become a sort of stroll, a Sunday afternoon drive for Luke Whitehead, do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, I think he's just in the zone. And when you're in the zone, you sort of don't realise how quickly time is passing. You'll have a look at the leaderboard every now and again. You'll see that gap increase. But once you're in that rhythm, really nothing can stop you. And that's what we're seeing from Luke Whitehead here. Nearly 12 seconds a gap between himself and Wojciech Neuwirth. Sheldon Muscat is starting to close in on Silver Pyramids once again after their little bit of a fight, a ruckus in towards the Melbourne hairpin last time around. Silver Pyramids gets onto the grass though. That will upset the car. Not like that one bit. Sheldon Muscat then has to try and take advantage of that one and close in as much as possible. And that Nissan there is really starting to misbehave. That back end almost stepping out halfway through the Craner curves. That's possibly one of the last places you want the back end to drop away from you.
Yeah, that is a very, very difficult one, but keeps the car on the track. And look at the sawing at the wheel that Sheldon Muscat having to do, trying to keep onto the back of that Nissan GTR through Coppice then again for the 8th time of asking. And as much as that car is really, really wild for Silver Pyramid, it's not any easier, I can assure you, for the GTA Amiga RPM Esports driver of Sheldon Muscat down into the Fogarty S's. And is it going to be able to move, do you think, here, Kieran, down into the Melbourne hairpin?
It could be. He's maybe sizing up, but no, not this time around in towards the Melbourne hairpin, but definitely trying something here. A little bit of a cutback maybe, try and get the power down earlier. We've seen that from multiple drivers here tonight. Down in towards Goddard's we go then, and here you can see Sheldon Muscat just taking a tighter line and once again making Silver Pyramids think about defending, because once he thinks about it, he's going to do it. Once he does it, that's going to compromise his line all the way through. You'll see that with drivers making their way through, making the other driver make the call and make the decision, which could cost them the line they'd normally take. And you can see now Silver Pyramids is really starting to feel that pressure from Sheldon Muscat. Once again, we head our way through the crater curves in towards the old hairpin there, and a little bit of opposite lock from Sheldon Muscat then. He's really attacking this one. He really wants that 5th place away now. He's decided he's had enough of being in 6th place and fancies 5th instead. Through now we go in towards McLean's, then back onto the power, trying to keep that car in check. Up towards Coppice we will go, and trying to get a good line through here. You can see the Nissan initially takes more speed through the corner, but the line from Sheldon Muscat is able to bring him closer and closer and closer up towards the Fogarty S's. Again, Muscat looks up the inside, feels that mirror of the Nissan. Still though, no way through.
Yeah, he's trying to say bless him. He's really pushing that car everywhere it needs to be, but it's no luck just now. Late on the brakes, a little bit of contact, called it. Yep, that's going to happen. But thankfully, Sheldon just backs out of it and lets Silver Pyramid go for it again. And I think they'll just try again the next lap round.
Yeah, bit tight there from Sheldon Muscat, obviously making contact once again with the back of Silver Pyramids, and you know, it's up to the car following. You've got to have the responsibility of not driving into the car behind, and it's happened twice now for Sheldon Muscat. If it happens a 3rd time, I think the stewards might be having a closer look at it, because there's clearly an issue for Sheldon Muscat. He's later on the brakes then in towards the final corner. That's the issue. But the problem is he can't be that late on the brakes if Silver Pyramids isn't.
And that's exactly it, isn't it? It's the fact that he wants to go and Sheldon Muscat into the wall. That's it. Good night, Vienna. That is the race done for Sheldon. Right, so Silver now has to try and concentrate on doing anything that he possibly can, because to be honest, 4.5 seconds, I don't think Pyramid is going to make any advances on that 5th position right now. And that car from Sheldon Muscat is very, very broken indeed.
Yeah, very bruised, very battered, unfortunately for him. Yeah, tried to push it all the way through in towards the Craner curves, and I think the back end just simply had enough. We've already seen how much he's having to soar away at the wheel. The amount of opposite lock going through in towards Hollywood and the Craner curves just to keep that car in check. And unfortunately this time, it looks like Muscat overstepped the mark with his own car, and they had that falling out. Well, Boychev then in 3rd place. The gap between himself and Neuwirth has increased then to around about 1.4, and now it's come back down to 1.1. Dan Stromae is 3.2 behind Boychev. That's been steadily increasing lap after lap. But once again, once these two start battling, and it will happen because Boychev is starting to close in again. Once they start battling, David, that's going to be an invitation to Dan Stromae to join the fight.
It absolutely is, and we're seeing that there. Sheldon Muscat into pit lane. That is going to be that car retired from the race, and with 45 minutes left to go, it looks like that is now us down to a 5-car race here. And look at that, Ivilo Bolchev now just a second behind Wojtek Neuwirth, and this is a battle for 2nd place that we didn't see happening.
No, not at all. And you know what? I'm really, really glad we're getting to see it. It's fantastic stuff. At the moment, then, Boychev is closing in. He's chipping away at the gap between himself and the Aston Martin up ahead. And all that's all that needs to happen at the moment, David. He just needs to keep chipping away at that gap, and Neuwirth will see that gap coming down with just over 42 minutes left on the clock. We've got that 10-minute pit window, so that'll open with 35 minutes left on the clock. So we're less than 10 minutes away from the pit window opening. We'll see what sort of strategies can happen here. More importantly, and probably most importantly, the strategy battle between Neuwirth and Boychev. Who will pit first? And who will be the beneficiary?
Well, that is what we're about to find out. I think if I'm Boychev, I want to take the pit stop first and try and force Neuwirth to overthink the strategy part of this race, because let's face it, a second very, very easy to make up and lose in pit lane. So fascinating to say, but Luke Whitehead yet again, I mean, we've barely seen him for the past 20 minutes here. What a race he's doing here. I wonder if he gets bored halfway through.
I don't think he does. I really don't think he does. I think he loves just being on the limit, just putting in lap after lap after lap. I'm pretty sure if Luke Whitehead never needed to sleep, this is what he would be doing all the time. This would just be it, putting in laps at every single circuit. So, I mean, he's absolutely loving it right now. I think he would be happier if he had someone to battle, that's for sure. But I don't think anything could take away from a race victory, and by such a big margin as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on as he comes round Goddard's end for the final time. The thing is with 40 minutes left to go, I mean, that's essentially going to be another, I would imagine, another 30 laps that we've got to get into the books here. When do we start to think that 21 is going to start lapping some of the cars? I think after, with about 20 minutes to go, we're going to start seeing him getting through the field quite rapidly.
Place your bets then. Mr. Christie says 20
Yes.
minutes to go on the clock, so 20 minutes time until that happens. We shall wait and see. In the meantime, though, Neuwirth has responded to Boychev closing in on the gap. The gap's now extended to 1.3 seconds. Stromae then seems to be struggling at the moment. He is falling away at a higher rate than he has done before. The gap was just over 4 seconds. It's now 4.8 seconds. So whether Stromae may be struggling with the tyres at this point. I mean, struggling with the tyres 20 minutes into the race doesn't seem to add up to the storyline I hear from most drivers. They do sometimes say the tyres are quite durable at certain circuits, but maybe the setup for Dan Stromae is starting to get the better of him.
It's possible, and again, remember that a lot of the drivers were driving very aggressively right at the start of this race, Kieran, so that could have taken a little bit of extra life out of the tyres for them as well. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. That gap's starting to come down a little bit now, but again, I think that it's a case of Boychev and Neuwirth just focusing in on each other and doing the right thing and just pulling each other around.
Well, at the moment, it seems to be working for both drivers. They're pulling out that gap, as you say, to Dan Stromae. But who else is pulling out a gap? It's Luke Whitehead right at the top of the order. There is Silver Pirmits then, the Estonian in the Ninko Racing Nissan. 5th place right now, and 5.3 seconds back from Dan Stromae. They are sharing the same bit of Wheatcroft Straight then, as we head our way up towards Redgate once again. Luke Whitehead leads the way. Wojciech Neuwirth in 2nd place. Ivalio Boychev rounds off our top 3. Then it's Dan Stromae in 4th, Silver Pirmits in 5th, and Sheldon Muscat, unfortunately, a retirement from this race so far. And we saw him make heavy contact with the wall somewhere at the Crater Curves. That car just decided that it had enough of opposite lock and decided to put Sheldon Muscat to an early end to his race.
Yeah, and he's just been on the Discord, obviously, adding a couple of words after that retirement, saying it's really not his day-to-day. He wasn't feeling fit to race, but when he commits to something, he doesn't just drop out. He needs to get some rest. So, yeah, we wish him all the best in getting that race. And again, the HyperX Open Series here at World Pro Racing, a great chance for the drivers to really stretch their legs and exercise their prowess, and unfortunately it just wasn't to be for Sheldon tonight.
Not to be for himself, but well, I have to say, fair play to you, Sheldon, for turning up and putting on a show. It's great to see you. We know how talented you are. We know you'll be back very, very soon. So Ivalio Boychev then crosses the line, and the gap is literally just over 1 second. 007, that gap is shaken, not stirred. I'm so sorry.
I don't have any retort whatsoever to that one.
No, I think I deserve it. I deserve that, to be honest. That's what we'll make of it. Well, Daniel Stromae then in the GT Omega RPM Esports. I noticed the tone has suddenly gone down from David. I think he's left. I'm not surprised.
Well, talking of leaving, I mean, Luke Whitehead is just absolutely on it right now. And what is really making me curious, though, Kieran, is look at that gap to Boychev now. That's under 1 second again. This might get a little bit fighty coming up to the pit stops here.
Could do indeed, and we're not far away from them, just 2 minutes away from the pit window opening in this feature race. And Luke Whitehead, well, we saw him in the sprint race. When we had the pit window, Luke Whitehead left it later. In fact, the last possible lap before he came in to serve his mandatory pit stop. So if that goes to show, that's probably him going for the same strategy again. He seems very comfortable out there. You mentioned before that the likes of Shoulder Muscat, maybe the car prefers to have a heavier load, so it prefers the heavy fuel load, but it looks like the Porsche here is very happy at just putting in the consistent lap times, and it seems to enjoy being on the lighter load.
It absolutely does, and it's, I think it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? And it, again, testament as to what you were saying earlier, Kieran. You had a chance to experience the Assetto Corsa for the Assetto Corsa Competizione for the first time, and really, I don't think it was only the one car that you got a chance to experience, but what you'll find is when you drive the different cars, they've all got their own little personality, they've all got their own unique individual traits there, and yeah, fantastic to see that these cars really being driven to within an inch of their life. But hang on a minute here, Wojciech now within half a second on Neuwirth. This is okay. This is a proper little fight now.
It is, as they now make their way on towards Starkey Straight and on towards the Fogarty S's. Wojciech, as you say, has closed in to just over half a second on the Aston Martin ahead of him as they tackle Fogarty S's, and now back onto the power as they approach the Melbourne hairpin. And you can see Neuwirth doing enough for now, but Wojciech really now taking a much more aggressive line in towards the Melbourne hairpin. And I suppose that's the case. He's trying to aim his car at the apex and brake towards it so that he's in a straight line for that entire time. It can work, but the only problem is it's a very, very high risk of locking up those brakes. Well, Wojciech and Neuwirth go past the pit lane entrance with seconds to go before the pit lane opens. Stramer might be the first driver to do it and have an opportunity. No, he won't. Oh, it is Silver Pyramid who might have the opportunity, and I think Pyramid has taken that opportunity. The very first car into the pit lane, seconds after, I should say, the pit windows opened.
That's a clever move from Silver Pyramids there, trying to get as much of the time done as possible and then into to pit lane there. Meanwhile, Wojciech with a sudden burst of speed in that Audi GT3 right now, trying to catch up onto the back of Wojciech Neuwirth right now. Almost nose to tip as they come through Coppice there, and that Aston Martin, I wonder if the Aston Martin maybe just backing off slightly, trying to keep composure and keep some of the life in its tyres for the end of this race. But this Audi is just absolutely going for it right now here, Kieran.
It really, really is, and it's great to see. Oh, that is Neuwirth making a slight error there, and Wojciech is straight onto that. He's smelt the blood now, and is looking for a move up the inside in towards the Melbourne hairpin. He's leapt into action there. Has he grabbed second place away from Neuwirth? It's going to be battling. They're going to be side by side as they make their way once again up towards Goddard, and I think Wojciech has just about got his nose ahead then. He's got the inside line too, but the car slides underneath him as he tries to get the power down, and Neuwirth in response heads straight for the pit lane. So Wojciech got the move done out on track, but Neuwirth, having conceded defeat there, heads straight for the pit lane. David, that was a great little battle we had there.
Fantastic move from the Audi, got it done, got it very cleanly done. It was all about the mistake from the Aston Martin on the exit of the Fogarty S's there. Really cost them quite a bit of time there, and to be honest, that's 3,000 IQ thinking there from Wojciech Neuwirth there. Has to take the pit there after the damage is done, try and get the undercut there on the Audi and potentially hold it up a little bit more when the pit stops are done and dusted. But as it stands, Wojciech Neuwirth and Silver Pyramids is currently the only drivers here, Kieran, that have taken their pit stop so far, with 7 minutes and 50 seconds left in the pit window, 32 minutes left to go in the race.
Yeah, Luke Whitehead leading the way. He's just making his way through Goddard's now, and knowing Luke Whitehead, he'll be staying out. He'll be happy to stay out as late as he possibly can. This is where Luke Whitehead will now start thinking about when is the latest possible opportunity to come into the pit lane. I mean, this is what you think about as a driver. How many laps is it before I have to pit? He will be working that out on the fly, as well as setting 1:26.5s, which is only just over half a second of what he was able to set earlier on in the race. It's phenomenal what these drivers can do, and this is the argument that some of the esports drivers have been raising, that sometimes when it comes down to it, they have to think of strategy on the fly as well as driving the car. For some drivers, as we see, I think that's Stramer coming into the pits now, for some of the drivers, they will be lone wolves. They will do everything on their own, whether it be the setup, then driving the car, and then trying to pick their own strategy as well. Okay, it's one pit stop with fueling mandatory, and it's up to you whether you change the tyres, but that's still something that you'll have to think about on the fly if, in case something goes wrong.
100%. They really need to be, making all of the moves when they possibly can, and it's just fascinating to see how all the different strategies work out. And I'm having a look here as Neuwirth comes out of the pit lane. It's still on that number 64 when he's going to be jumping out the pit lane, because out of Coppice, then down through Starkey straight comes the number 64. I'm keeping an eye on it on the little mini-map picture, but 6 minutes still to go. There's a lot of time here. What we need to do is keep an eye on the lap times for the 64 of Boychev, and if he's able to do consistently faster times over Neuwirth, then that is going to be done and dusted.
Just under 6 minutes of that pit window left to run, and Boychev is just making his way through the final corner at Goddard's. Let's see, just on the minimap alone, if he comes into the pit lane. He does. He is into the pits now then, so Boychev takes to the pit lane. And so Neuwirth now, has he done enough? Has his lap so far been good enough? Has he set the fastest or faster sector times than Ivalio Boychev? Well, I guess we're about to find out as he now makes his way up towards Goddard's once again. Remember, fueling is mandatory. Tyre changes are not. You could run on one set of tyres for this entire race. Here comes Neuwirth.
It's not enough. Boychev's slow in the pit lane, and that is going to be a huge turn of events, and I think Strumer might actually get this as well.
Yeah, you're right, he will. That's huge then for Boychev at the moment. Neuwirth then managing to take away second place. Strumer also taking that position, and I think he has rejoined. Yes, he has. Boychev now in fourth place. He's rejoined ahead of Silva Pyramids, but that is massive for Boychev then. Remember, battling Neuwirth just minutes ago, got that second place, and now look, he's 9 seconds adrift.
I wonder if he's taking tyres by accident, or he's maybe left the default pits on. Remember that all you need to do is take in fuel on this, so yeah, that is just absolutely nuts right now.
If that's the case then, and Boychev has a fresh set of boots on, well, in theory, he will be quicker through the corners. He might have the upper hand towards the end of this race, but is that going to be enough to whittle away at the advantage that Neuwirth has over him right now? Luke Whitehead, by the way, has come in. He's come into the pit lane, he's left the pit lane, and still very comfortably in the lead, so no surprises there, but still leading the way. 21 laps completed. He's on his 22nd lap here at Donington Park, and we are just under halfway home. Here comes Strumer then through the final corner. He's now up into third place, so it's going to be a huge race on Boychev's hands to not only grab a podium, but to try and grab second place away from Neuwirth.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I can't see it happening. I don't think there's the pace there from Strumer to catch up. I'm genuinely stunned at Boychev. I can only presume he's maybe missed his pit stop box there, because that's 10 seconds, Kieran, that he's lost on that pit stop there. So, I mean, that is how to go from hero to zero in the space of a lap.
Yeah, unfortunately so. However, we've still got 28 minutes left of this race. A lot can still happen. We've seen that already. And can Boychev try and close in on the gaps ahead to at least try and recover and salvage a couple of points in this feature race? We'll have to wait and see. Just under 28 minutes to go. Luke Whitehead leads the way then after all the pit stops have been completed. Wojciech Neuwirth in second place with Dan Strumer in third. There is Evalio Boychev in fourth place, and Silva Pyramids rounding off the 5 drivers. And just getting some camera shots on Luke Whitehead there, our race leader in the PPR Esports Porsche, and leading by a very, very comfortable margin.
Good to know that he's still actually here, present in the race and still taking part. It's you do have to worry when a driver's that far out in front that they are actually still taking part, and he really is. The thing is that, look, that pace hasn't dropped at all. That pace is still as blistering as it was right at the start of the race. Another exemplary drive from Luke Whitehead for PPR Esports, and I'm really liking the livery on that Porsche.
Definitely. It's very, very nice livery indeed for the PPR Esports. That what was it you called it, David, earlier on?
I'm not sure.
You did call it something. It was very catchy, so catchy that I'm asking you what it was.
I cannot
Pastel.
even.
Pastel.
Pink pastel. That's it. I saw it in YouTube chat. So yeah.
Okay, that'll be why then. That will be why. It's the perfect description. The pink pastel. Coming now in towards the final corner. Dan Stramer then in the GT Omega RPM Esports Aston Martin. Currently rounding off the top three, but Boychev is starting to close now. Less than 5 seconds is the gap between Stramer and Boychev. And the Audi, the driver behind it, has got to get a move on. If it is true that he's got a fresh set of boots on, then he needs to start using them. But it could so easily be a mistake at the pit lane as well, David, that we haven't ruled out. Could have easily missed his pit box, could have easily overdriven. Anything could have happened in that pit lane, unfortunately, for Evalio Boychev, which has cost him 10 seconds.
Yeah, and I am wondering because that gap is starting to come down now, 4.8 seconds between Stramer and Boychev, but yeah, this is a cracking race. 25 minutes left to go. Certainly it's done and dusted for the lead, you've got to imagine, but it's still, it's not beyond the realms of possibility for second, third and fourth right now.
Not at all. I mean, the jury's still out at this point, whether Boychev will catch and pass Stramer, and then whether he can do the same for Neuwirth. Well, the pit window is just about to close, but it's no concern of any of the drivers. They have all pitted within the designated pit window and with time to spare as well. I thought Luke Whitehead was going to leave it to the last possible moment, but I suppose the penultimate lap is not too bad either.
Exactly. It's all a little bit of a credit as well, and that's the unfortunate thing when you get a race like this where Luke Whitehead is a way out in front and you look at Neuwirth and Stramer. What we have to do is not take anything away from the epic race that's Neuwirth and Stramer and the pace that they're putting into this race as well. And obviously, race 2, it's kind of spread out a little bit more. The cars aren't as packed as we had in race 1, but this is unfortunately what can happen. But a great race nonetheless.
A great race nonetheless, and it's keeping us just thinking about what could happen. This is where the strategy starts to try and unfold itself, and whether pitting late and pitting early, how does that affect your car and your pace towards the end of the race? I didn't mean to rhyme, but it just sort of happened.
You ever thought a career in as a rap star, though? Just, poetry? Any of those take your fancy?
Not really. I mean, I know they say poetry. Poetry in motion is probably the least likely thing people will describe my words as, so I can barely speak England very well, David, let alone try and rhyme everything. Silver Pivots then in that Ninko Racing, David's favourite car amongst the entire grid, that mint Ninko Racing. Oh, we've got a car off. It's Boychev.
Well, that's unfortunate. That car looks to be rather scuppered. And come on, Mr. GTR, let's do this. Let's get another podium on the go. It's a bit of a stretch, 11 seconds up the road. But what on earth happened to Boychev? That was completely by himself.
Yeah, it was. It was. Considering how spread out the field is at the moment, that was completely and utterly on his own. And I wonder if it was a similar scenario as Sheldon Muscat. Muscat obviously had a little bit of a moment coming through the Craner curves. It looked actually earlier than that. And Neuwirth has got himself a drive-through penalty. Now, I can only assume that's going to be for multiple track extensions because we have not heard any penalties coming his way. That drive-through penalty is track limit. He will have to serve that. Stramer might go up into second place. In fact, he will, as Neuwirth decides to serve the drive-through right away. Here's what happened to Boychev then. This is out of Redgate, and yeah, onto the grass and just the car. At that point, you're asking too much of the suspension there to keep it in check. As well as that onto the grass. You've just not got no grip out there. He's been pushing that limit time and time again, and that time around, it bit back.
Oofed is all I'm going to say on that one. Oofed, and there we go, GTR up into the podium. What a move for Pirmi to take their place. It's not going to last long. Let's face it, that Aston Martin of Neuwirth is going to be absolutely furious with that and trying to get that position back very, very quickly. But you've got to say, Daniel Stramer is going to have woken up thinking, what the hell has just happened here? I was looking, you know, I was going to be happy to get a third place here, and then it's all kind of come up roses.
I'm starting to fear you now, David, because you said about 2.5 minutes ago, oh, I would love the Nissan to be up into third place. 2.5 minutes later, that's exactly what has happened. I fear you now, David. That's all I can say.
We've heard the commentators curse. It works in the opposite way with me here.
I've never seen this happen before. How is a commentator helping a driver? That's not supposed to happen. That's not how this works.
It's the power of Godzilla, my friend. That's what it is. But look, it's not going to last long. It's straight on the inside. Goodness me, that was optimistic to say the least. I'll tell you what. For Neuwirth, that actually wasn't that bad a move, because did you see the GTR struggling to get back on the traction and get it up the inside there? Yeah, he needs to get past Pierre May, and very, very quickly, otherwise he's going to start losing a lot of time. The last thing that he wants is to be dragged back to Boychev there.
Yeah, here they come then in towards Redgate once again for the 27th time. And back onto the power, that Team Shark Aston Martin trying to find a way past the Mint Ninko Racing Nissan as they make their way through the Craner curves. Up they go towards the old hairpin. Two slightly different lines. You can see Neuwirth really happy to try and get as close to the curb on the left-hand side of the track going through the old hairpin as he possibly can. He's got a lot of confidence in the car, a lot of confidence in himself as well, and you can see how that's turning out to be. Slightly missed the apex going through in towards McLean's there, and now up towards Coppice here. Back onto the power he will go. And this is kind of what we saw with Boychev in the last race. In clear air, he had the pace, he was very comfortable, but when you stick a car ahead of you, you will find it tough to keep the lines you're keeping.
I think he's just intimidated by the raw power of Godzilla there. But look at Perme. He's not stupid this time around. He moves to the inside to block that inside line for Neuwirth. And again, the two of them now just dragging each other backwards. That yellow Audi is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is going to become a 3-car battle, I fear, within the next 5 minutes.
Well, you fear I'm getting around in the popcorn if that's the case. Well, Boychev, well, he did go into the wall. It just remains to be seen how much damage there is in the car. Doesn't look like it's too bad because he's just taken 2/10 out of Wojciech Neuwirth there, so not too bad is the damage. So he might have just about gotten away with that one. But as you can see, the picture-in-picture, we're riding on board with Neuwirth. We've also got the picture-in-picture of what, well, pretty much Silver Pyramids will be looking at, except in a mirror. We'll be just looking at where Neuwirth is looking, where he's positioning the car, how close he gets, and all this psychological battle as well. You'll see Neuwirth pull to the right-hand side before the apex of a corner, before he starts braking, just to make Silver Pyramids think about something. I touched on it earlier on. It might be a case that Neuwirth thinks about a move coming into the Fogarty S's. He's certainly close enough to give it a try, but I think sense comes before that one because he's decided to stay line of stern.
Yeah, he's thought better of it. And again, watch that GTR. It's going to move to the right-hand side here and force that Aston Martin all the way around the outside. Clever defensive driving here from the GTR. Really making that Aston Martin as wide as it possibly can be. And I was getting worried about Boychev catching up. It's not happening at all. That car 5.8 seconds there. And am I seeing a little bit of damage on the front right of that Aston Martin there for Neuwirth?
I think you are. You might have had an argument with something or someone earlier on in this race. But yeah, it seems to, yeah, it's just the bonnet on the left-hand side, isn't it? That's what you're seeing.
Odd, yeah.
Yeah, I see it too. So, but it's only slight damage, and it's definitely not putting off Neuwirth at the moment as they head their way in towards the old hairpin. And once again, David Christie's favourite car is on for a podium. I've got to say, you know how we said, oh, place your bets. Where do you think Permits is going to finish? This seems a little bit too convenient, David. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm going to 100% hold my hands up here and say I locked in on this one. There was no way that I could have seen this one coming, but a brilliant performance nonetheless. And also, I mean, to be fair now, we're not seeing any of Daniel Stromer in second place. I mean, cracking job on their own in that number 1. Aston Martin doing a brilliant job here. But yeah, I'm really impressed with Silver Permet here, holding on to that third from Wojtek Neuwirth. And Wojtek doesn't look at the moment like he's got an answer for that GTR.
Not at the moment. It seems like the Nissan has the answers that the Aston Martin is throwing at. So that seems to be the other shoe on the foot there, because the Nissan is defending really well, positioning that car excellently, and it's just making Neuwirth having to think about, well, where am I going to position the car now? How am I going to get past you? It's been a couple of laps now, so that's been time for Neuwirth to sort of understand where Silver Pimmets is defending, where he's not going to be as strong as the Aston Martin. And, you know, you can work all of these things out. You can try and see where the best place to overtake is. You'll know where you'll start to close up. But putting that all into action, David, is just another story in itself.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I think that this is not looking likely purely because I say that and Aston immediately closes back up. But again, closing up is one thing, but that GTR has learned the lessons from Neuwirth and knows where he's likely to go. He gets a good run down here through Starkeys, he'll get a good run through the chicane, and he'll try and make a move on the inside into the Melbourne hairpin. But if Silver can cover him off, then surely there's not much else.
That's a good run from Neuwirth then out of the Fogarty S's. He's much more alongside than he has been before. Takes a much deeper line to get back onto the power earlier and see if he can try and move in towards Goddard's, but the Nissan once again has him covered there. In towards the final corner they will go, and still back onto the power. You see there the Nissan just seems to place the car perfectly so that Neuwirth cannot put the power down in the first place. This is great driving from Silver Pimmets. He knows exactly what he's doing here and is putting this plan perfectly in place.
Yeah, he certainly is, and it's brilliant to watch. It's a proper exhibition race that we've got going on here with 15 minutes left to go. That GTR should not be in the position that it is in that third place. The Aston Martin is faster than it, the Audi is faster than it, and the GTR is kind of making a fool out of both Wojtek Neuwirth and Boychev right now. But is the Aston Martin going to have the last laugh here? You've got to say that you think so. In my heart, I think that the Aston Martin is going to take that third place, but it depends on how aggressive it wants to go. And again, it also depends on how aggressive it is with these track limits. I'm seeing it getting a little bit leery and cutting a little bit left, right and centre, and I'm wondering, is it possibly going to get another drive-through?
Well, that's risk and reward really, isn't it? You've got to try and push those limits, and if you overstep the mark, you will be punished, and it's how close you're willing to get to those marks before you start to back off once again. But for Silver Pimmets, though, he's enjoying this, isn't he? He really is enjoying this. He knows what to do, knows where to position the car, and for the Aston Martin, the places where it's quicker, it seems to be McLean's. That's the huge place that Neuwirth gains all of that time. But McLean's up towards Coppice isn't really an overtaking opportunity. Not really. Unless you are really side by side, you're not going to try and move up towards Coppice because it's such a tight corner. Then it opens up, so you're putting the acceleration down. You're taking yourself wider and wider onto the left-hand side. So in essence, where the Aston Martin is quicker at the moment, there's nothing that can be done. But right now, he's right under the back of him, through the old hairpin, and could just throw to the wind everything I say. Who cares what I think? It's what Neuwirth can do out there.
No, I think you've called it absolutely spot on there, Kieran. I think you've said it absolutely how it is. He's able to make up ridiculous amounts of pace and ridiculous amounts of time, but he's just not able to get close enough to actually put that pressure onto the GTR. Like here, out through Coppice, then down on the run to Starkeys, and then to the Fogarty S's. By this point, the GTR roars into life, gets its legs going, and again, it's through this corner. Much closer now, though, on the GTR here, Kieran. But I still think it's too far back.
Well, we'll wait and see then. They do go side by side in towards the Melbourne hairpin, and this time there's the door open. The Aston Martin can get the power down. They are going to be side by side for one of the first times. In towards Coppice they will go then. The Nissan has the inside line. Wojtek Neuwirth has the outside line. Again tries to cut back, but the Nissan parks it on the apex, and once again Neuwirth cannot find a way through, but that's the closest he's been.
Yeah, that was a brilliant, brilliant effort there from the Aston Martin, the Wojtek Neuwirth, trying to throw everything but the kitchen sink, but it's just not working for him. And again, it's great to see the composure from the Aston Martin driver, the number 63 car, really throwing everything he can to it, but not pushing that car too far, not causing contact, not really putting the car, taking any liberties with it right now. But yeah, this is fascinating. You kind of on tenterhooks at this because you know something's going to happen, you just don't know when.
You said everything but the kitchen sink. For Neuwirth, it's going to have to be kitchen sink territory at some point as we now make our way in towards Coppice once again. And let's see how they go then down Starkey Straight. And of course, Godzilla can open up the taps down the straight here on towards the Fogarty S's. But it's punching a big hole in the air for Neuwirth to completely take advantage of. Through the Fogarty S's we go. Once again, the Aston Martin stronger through the S's as they now power their way on towards the Melbourne hairpin. Silver Pyramids once again defending the inside line. And that is Neuwirth trying to find his way round the outside. Cut himself back onto the line here, but didn't quite get the power down this time around. The idea is there. He just can't quite put the plan to execution.
He's struggling, is he? I mean, it's safe to say. And also, the fact is that the more they're pushing like this, the more they're taking out of their tyres, especially for Neuwirth. I think the GTR is happy driving at this level of aggression with the way that the car's going right now. They've certainly not got anything to worry about with Boychev behind them, although Boychev does have to worry about getting put a lap down already with 10 minutes left to go in the race. I'm going to say it right now, third place for Silver Pyramid. I think that unless there's any mistakes from Pyramid, I think this is in the bag for that GTR car.
Speaking of mistakes then, that's a rare one from Neuwirth going through Starkey's bridge there. Not ideal for him. That's not what he needs to be doing at this late stage. Just over 10 minutes left of this race. It has flown by, especially when we've been absolutely hooked by this third place battle, and how much that drive-through penalty for track limits for Neuwirth has really changed up his race. We did say he has to try and fight his way back through the field. Stromae here is in second place. He's been loving it up there in second place, but Neuwirth this time around, that was not a great Fogarty S's there. He's lost even more ground to the Nissan.
I wonder if those tyres are going. That's the bit that I'm worried about, because look at the gap that Boychev has brought down to Wojtek Neuwirth there in that fourth position. Now that was about a second that Boychev has taken out of that car in front, and Pyramid will be breathing a huge sigh of relief. And yeah, I think that if that gap is, and it's going up another 0.2 of a second here, I think Neuwirth is burnt through the tyres.
Well, it could be the case then. It has been a case of he's thrown everything. Looks like it was kitchen sink territory, but looks like the tyres have gone away from him. Even if that's the case, then it needs to be that Silver Pyramids now needs to just hang on to his tyres as best as he possibly can. He's been defending, so it's not like he hasn't been using up his tyres. Or is it just a lull there for Wojtek Neuwirth? We'll have to wait and see. With 8 3/4 minutes left of this race to run, I really can't tell you who could finish in third place. It really still is so open. It's such great racing. And once again, it's not the quantity of the grid, it's the quality. And we've been treated to an absolute brilliant night.
Yeah, we really have. It's been fantastic to see, although 0.7 of a second that Pyramid's lost. Oh, and Neuwirth goes wide at the chicane there, has to back out of it, gets it going again. All that time that Wojtek Neuwirth caught up on Silver Pyramid there, lost out. And look at Boychev, 3.4 seconds behind. 8 minutes to go. We're going to have, I think, a three-way battle for third place.
It will be great. This is your absolute last chance to grab that popcorn. We know you've got it. We know you have it. And it's your last chance to grab it, because we're in for a good 8 minutes racing here between Pyramids, Neuwirth and Boychev. So if the tyres are starting to hang on for Neuwirth, then it just looked like it was a bit of a scruffy lap from him. It looks like he's back onto the pace now, because we saw that in the middle sector, how close he came to trying to close up to Silver Pyramids again before making that slight mistake going through in towards the Fogarty S's. The pace is clearly there for Neuwirth. It's just a little bit of a scruffy 4 kilometres from him last time out.
I think that's absolutely what it is. And Luke Whitehead's here. This is another bit I wanted to bring up here, is the fact that third, fourth and fifth might see the leader again, just not in the way that they were thinking, because all of them could be getting put a lap down in the next 7 minutes. Certainly you wouldn't bet against it, given the pace that they're dropping to Boychev behind. Boychev now 2.7 seconds behind that battle right now, and the gap now 0.7 of a second between Pierme and Neuwirth. Oh my goodness me, this is getting a little bit scary. Coming in, oh, and the under attack, the GTR already contact, a little bit of a hip check. That was a little bit naughty there from Wojtek Neuwirth. The car was beside him, he saw that on the radar. There's no need for that contact there, Kieran.
Well, he's trying to find his way through, but Piermit's still defending then through in towards the final corner at Goddard's, and all that's going to do is allow Boychev to close up even more. He'll be loving this as well if the two of them are starting to make contact. Neuwirth then coming in towards Goddard's, 2.8 seconds to the gap between Boychev and Neuwirth. I think Neuwirth is feeling the pressure here. He knows if Boychev catches him, Boychev could get past.
Absolutely, and again we've gone on about going from hero to zero. That's exactly what could happen here with Boychev if he catches up to this group here, because Neuwirth, despite chasing, I mean it's gone from bad to worse, is it? You know, chasing third place and then ended up at the back of the grid. Granted, it's a small grid anyway, but I'm loving the way that Silver Pyramid is handling this race right now.
He really is. He's just showing the expertise needed to drive a defensive masterclass. And we don't get to see defensive masterclasses that often. We don't really get to see it at all, because eventually the key is found in the lock of the defensive masterclass. But right now, Pyramid is doing a sublime job up there. It might have been lucky how he got third place, but it's not lucky how he's holding on to it. It's still side by side then as we make our way in towards the Melbourne hairpin. There's contact again between the two of them as Piermitz then holds the inside line and puts the squeeze on Neuwirth there. These two have got to calm down, because Boychev's behind them as well. He'll happily pick up the pieces, which what could happen in the next 5 minutes.
I'll tell you what, Wojtek Neuwirth is brave picking a fight with a GTR, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to end up crying and running home to mummy after that one. But I think that's on the cards if Neuwirth keeps that up. And again, the two cars just leaning on each other on the way around the corner. This certainly makes for an awesome race. And look, I'm not being funny, but 5 cars on the grid, right? We should be bored to tears by this point. This is amazing. This is one of the best races I've commentated on in the past 6 months. This is epic stuff here at the HyperX Open Series for World Pro Racing. These two drivers just absolutely giving it toe to toe right now, and Boychev has got the race leader right on his tail as well.
Yeah, he'll have to yield to allow Luke Whitehead to make his way through, but maybe Neuwirth here is thinking in the back of his head as well, where's the best place I can take advantage of these blue flags? Because he'll be wanting to try and yield in an ideal place, and he'll want Silver Pyramids to yield in a place that's not so nice. That's what they'll be thinking now as a way to try and get past. Use the blue flags to your advantage. It's one that drivers will always try and think about here in the back of their mind. And with 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, those two being put a lap down is almost a foregone conclusion at the moment.
Yeah, that's almost certainly going to happen. You can see there your race leader, Luke Whitehead, back into the picture. It's like, hello, Luke. There you are. We've missed you for the past 57 minutes. But I mean, how was he able to close on those two so quickly? I know obviously they're fighting each other, but they're not dropping to Daniel Stramer all that much really, so they're fighting. But yeah, this is just an incredible performance from Luke Whitehead. And yeah, I can see them going a lap down in the next sort of, what, a minute and a half?
Yeah, it's looking very ominous, isn't it? But this is where the blue flag fight might be really starting to hot up, because Neuwirth might be starting to realise that the blue flag is the last resort. Trying to use the blue flag to his advantage is the absolute last resort. But if it works, my goodness, will it be 3000 IQ? Let's see what happens then as they head their way through Coppice. Just over 2.5 minutes left to run in this race. And as the drivers make their way now on towards Starkey Straight and once again towards the Fogarty S's, the question is now, when do these two drivers yield?
I ain't answered that one. I am not touching that question with the barge pole because I've got the horrible, sickening feeling that Neuwirth is going to miss his breaking point and spear Luke Whitehead off. Oh, but it's up the inside. Great move for Wojtek Neuwirth. The GTR's going to get the run out the corner here. He's going to surely have to oblige to the blue flags here as we see into the final corner at Goddard's. I don't know if he is. Neuwirth still on the back of that GTR. I think that's the only thing that he's got on his mind right now as Luke Whitehead comes to start the penultimate lap, you've got to say here.
Yeah, I mean, well, Luke Whitehead obviously will have those blue flags, but he might just be keeping his distance from this battle, and that's probably one of the smart moves there. If the two in front aren't going to yield, well, just hold your ground, because it's not worth getting caught up in this battle at the moment. These two have made contact. Twice, 3 times before. You don't want to be caught up in that at the wrong moment. Neuwirth now trying to still see if he can scythe his way through, try and find that way through, try and engineer a move way past, but he slightly scrubs himself there going in towards McLean's there. The car underneath him starting to understeer with the aggression. Now through Coppice they will go then, and on towards Starkey Straight. Once again, trying to use each other's slipstream. The Porsche, the race leader of Luke Whitehead, still looking on here. And Luke Whitehead's actually backed out. He's not willing to try and pass these two. And do you know what? I do not blame him.
I love them. I want to be in Luke Whitehead's car right now going, yeah, no. Just no.
Just no. I mean, it's smart. Stay out of it because
he doesn't need to. Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for it whatsoever. So just let them two fight. He's happy piddling along. He might even actually have a bag of popcorn, enjoying this little fight going on, and hoping to maybe take each other out.
He's got a great front row seat, hasn't he? He will now start the final lap of this race, which means then Silver Pyramids and Neuwirth, obviously if they're not passed by Luke Whitehead, we get to see one more lap of them, one more additional lap of them battling it out. We'll have to wait and see if Luke Whitehead wants to call this or whether the checkered flag for Neuwirth and Pyramids will.
Well, I think this is going to be called on track. I don't think Luke's going to want to get past him here. I am worried, I'll be honest with you, because remember, after this one, we're going to get an extra lap of this. Now, is Neuwirth going to force the issue or just line up towards that final one? We'll wait and see, but I think the smart money for me on Neuwirth is leave it until next lap.
Look at this.
He's got...
This is a great second sector here from Neuwirth there. You can see Pyramids is feeling the pressure. He's already trying to go defensive down towards the Fogarty S's. He switches back now to the racing line. And Neuwirth here, he tried to slow the car down, but he realised he was going to slightly tap the back end of the Nissan and put the Biancas on. And now he's lost a little bit of ground coming down in towards the Melbourne hairpin here. This is tight. This is sketchy between the two of them for this battle for third place. But I'll tell you what though, Luke Whitehead, who's decided to keep his distance from this battle then for third place, he'll be making his way through the final corner and putting in a very, very dominant win. The battle for third goes on for 4 more kilometres. But for Luke Whitehead, it's another win, a fantastic win in the feature race here at Donington Park. It's pole, it's the win in the sprint and the feature, and we'll have to check for fastest lap, but I'm pretty sure, I'm ultimately sure he's got that one too. Daniel Stramer will be making his way. He's only a couple of seconds up the road, in fairness. He's making his way through in towards the second sector, in towards McLean's we go. But the battle for third place rages on. Pyramids has been holding on for the last 20 minutes. He inherited third place after Neuwirth's drive through there. He's looking for a move around the outside going in towards McLean's. They make contact there, and the Nissan is not willing to give him the room then. In towards Coppice. Once again, the Nissan takes a defensive line going through. Not normally an overtaking opportunity. Almost caught the Nissan off guard. Neuwirth is throwing everything and the kitchen sink at this third place battle. Now heading away now down in towards the Fogarty S's for the final time in this battle for third place. Out of third gear, up into fourth to see who can try and get the position then. The Nissan goes to the inside, in towards the Melbourne hairpin, and they do make contact one one more time then, in through the penultimate hairpin, back onto the power they both go. Silver Pyramid still trying to hold on to this position. He's got the inside line now as we head our way in towards Goddard's then. Who's going to get the better run out of the corner? Neuwirth is trying to get his way past, but they make contact there, and Neuwirth waits for the Nissan there. He waits for him. Towards the line they will go. It will be Silver Pyramid who grabs third place away from Neuwirth. A battle that ended there in a little bit of a spin, but Neuwirth waits for the Nissan to go through. And breathe.
Wow, what the hell? Look, we knew that was coming. We knew that was all that the Aston Martin had in the tank to give, but what on earth, that final lap, goodness me, that was an awesome race. And Kieran, I'm going to say this quite honestly, right? I've done many ACC races over the past year, over the past 6 months. That was nuts.
That was nuts, wasn't it? Absolutely nuts. Our race director is confirming the top three there. Pyramid's obviously grabbing third place. Daniel Stramer in second. We didn't see a lot of him in the final half of that race. And Luke Whitehead grabbing the win in the feature race. So as they finished, as we saw it out on track, no doubt that I think the both of them will be having a couple of words with our race director, Adrian Figallo there, especially at the final corner. However, door to door, they gave us some really exciting action, and once again, David, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. And boy, were we treated today.
We absolutely were. I feel delighted for Daniel Stramer, who just lucked into the fact that he was all by himself. We'll forget about Luke Whitehead, who just in a different class of his own. But that fight, I can absolutely guarantee you that Pirme and Neuwirth are going to leave tonight with the biggest smiles. I know Neuwirth didn't get that third position, but yeah, he was really giving it everything tonight. And look, as a driver, as a sim racer, you know yourself, Kieran. A fight is a fight, and you leave feeling really good, knowing you gave everything you possibly could.
Yeah, I think so. It's been fantastic to watch them all, and it's been absolutely brilliant. I am glad to say we do have one of the top three drivers, and it is one of the drivers we saw in that hectic battle at David Christie's favourite car on the grid, Silver Pyramid. Silver, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Silver, right, the first thing we want to know is congratulations on your back-to-back third places, by the way, sprint and feature race. Well, let's talk about the final 20 minutes of the feature race. Let's just picture the scene then. Neuwirth has the drive-through, rejoins the track behind you. First thought on your mind?
Yeah, first thought was there's no way I'm going to hold this, but I'm sure as hell going to give it a go. And the pressure was immense, I have to say. I think that's the most stress I've had in 20 minutes of racing in my sim racing career. My heart rate's through the roof still, and the adrenaline's pumping. So that was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, yourself and Wojciech made contact a couple of times, mainly coming in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Then you had that little bit of contact right at the end of the race, but Wojciech held the ground and let you take the third place. I mean, that was a hectic 20 minutes. You put on a defensive masterclass. Talk us through it.
Oh yeah, it's really difficult, but of course the Nissan being quite large and having good acceleration out of corners helped it a lot, because I could just pull out 2/10 hairpin exit and just keep a lead and position the car in strategic places so Neuwirth couldn't pass, obviously. But it was so stressful. The pressure he put on me, it was something else.
Let's talk briefly about your sprint race, because you got a third place in that one as well. I mean, talk us through that, because it was a more high-octane race there. Or I mean, I suppose it wasn't really, because you had two sprint races tonight anyway.
Yeah, race one was a little bit more serene than this one, but yeah, nothing easy. Of course, I had a spin at the old hairpin, or half spin, and fell to the back and had to claw my way back. But I made up a place in the pits with Stramer. I don't know what he did, but I somehow just passed him. And of course, with the Audi spinning right in front of me, it was a bit of luck involved, but yeah, nothing easy for sure.
Well, Silver, congratulations on third place in the HyperX Open Series. The floor is yours. For any shout-outs, any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Obviously, thank you very much for HyperX and World Pro Racing for putting on this series. It's been amazing so far, and obviously this event was a quite interesting one with not that many cars in the grid, but obviously the racing was great. And I'd also like to give a shout out to the Estonian Sim Racing Association, where I've put in most of my hours in sim racing in the past years, and who've helped me come on in sim racing.
Well, fantastic to hear from you, Silver. Congratulations on your third place. We'll leave you to take a breath and relax after that intense race, but congratulations on third place.
Thanks very much, much needed.
And I believe, David, have you got second place in the HyperX Open Series for Donington Park?
I do, Daniel Strumere. A very good evening, my friends. That was a little bit like Luke. You were just left to your own devices for the second half of the race, weren't you?
Yes, hello everyone. Yes, that's true. I tried to stay calm and try to have a good pace. Well, the pace wasn't the best, but it was very constant. And I see Wojtek got a drive-through, so I knew I could just stay with my pace and get P2 at home. So that was quite good.
And obviously the first race for yourself was a little bit more frantic. The places were changing almost every single lap. Talk us through that one for you.
Yes, in the first race we had some nice battles in the first few laps, and unfortunately I lost a lot of time in the pits because my pit crew, I don't know what they did. I think I lost 4 to 5 seconds, so I could have finished some places higher, but still, that was a very nice race and very interesting.
Does it make it more difficult for you when you've not got any cars hustling you or harassing you and you're left to your own devices, or do you enjoy the peace and quiet?
No, actually, it's you need to focus a lot more, because when you have cars around you, you focus, and without any cars around you, you nearly lose the concentration. So it's for me personally, it's more difficult if I have to do a solo race like the second one.
Yeah, understood. It makes perfect sense. Well, Daniel, any sponsors or any friends and family you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, I would like to thank GT Omega Racing, Gaming Malta, HyperX, and of course World Pro Racing. It's a shame there weren't too many drivers tonight, because the guys on World Pro Racing, they're doing their best, and it's always nice to be part of their events.
Oh, lovely to hear that. Thank you very much then for talking to us tonight. Second place there for Daniel Strumere, and I believe, Kieran, you have the man of the evening. I'm surprised he's not checked off for a shower and a celebratory bottle of bubbly just now.
Well, I'm surprised too, but it is Luke Whitehead. Luke, a dominant performance. Can you hear us?
I can. I must preface first, I have got a bit of a cough, so if I do mute myself randomly, it's because I don't want everyone hearing my coughing. It's not pretty, I'll be honest. Seems to be everyone's got it. Everyone in sim racing seems to have it, so I don't know whether it's transferred through the monitors or through Discord. I don't know.
Well, the coughing may not be pretty, but the driving today really was. I mean, both those races you dominated. You got pole position by 0.7 of a second. I mean, talk to us through it, because a lot of that race you were left to your own devices. We hardly saw you on the camera. We hardly saw you on the TV feed. What did you make of today?
Yeah, it was pretty perfect, to be honest. I mean, I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes recently. I've been really struggling, not just with results, but just in terms of outside of sim racing as well. Trying to filter out all the distractions, and obviously one of them's gone, which is good. No main distractions, and I've just been getting my head down, being solely focused on just trying to work with a car that I suit. Obviously for this race, it's the first World Pro Racing race for a long time that I've used the Porsche, and that's been my main car for probably 3 to 6 weeks or so recently. And it really has paid off, I think. Obviously, it's a shame that the grid wasn't too big today, because obviously the World Pro Racing guys, they deserve a huge grid. The work they put in is amazing. The stuff they're doing over in Malta is awesome, but the grid wasn't that big. But I have reference times, and I know that my consistency across the board is the best that I've ever achieved in any car. So, regardless of what the outcome was, and how smallish the grid was, I was still on the ball. And I'm just glad to see that I'm on top form, and off the back of a couple of disappointing results and being ill for a week, I couldn't really be much happier.
Well, I mean, let's fast forward towards the end of the feature race. You're coming up to this battle for third place. The blue flags fly, and yet you don't push to get the drivers to yield. You stay back, you have your popcorn. Probably the wise decision there. I mean, was it a case of just leaving third place battle to it?
Yeah, I mean, I saw on the map, I was obviously I had quite a bit of time in hand, so I was able to kind of, I'd say almost pay more attention to other things. Obviously I was still really focused on the driving, but I could see sort of in my peripherals the mini-map, and they were side by side pretty much every lap. So I knew that if I caught them, I wasn't going to go in. Like, I wasn't going to go up the inside or anything. I pretty much thought that from the time that Reba unfortunately got the drive through. I was just like, I'm not gonna meddle with that, because they've been battling so hard, and at the end of the day, it's for prizes. These guys are trying to fight for a mouse or a headset. They're not cheap, and if I was to remove one of the prizes from one of them, after I'm a lap ahead, it wouldn't have been fair, and I would have felt pretty bitter about it. So yeah, I just didn't want to meddle into it. And yeah, I mean, as you say, had a bit of popcorn as well, was chilling, head behind the headrest, just kind of reviewing what was going on. And to be honest, it was quite entertaining. Like, for the most part, it looked really respectful. I don't really know, because I didn't see much of it, but yeah, it was definitely an entertaining battle from those guys.
Well, Luke, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. We'll save your voice and leave it for another day. But just one final word from you. Any shout-outs, any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, so I'd first off like to say, condolences to Reba. He was probably going to get P2 overall, and obviously he got the drive-through. Fell foul to the chicane. I almost did. It almost actually ended my race, I think lap 36. I had a huge moment, full opposite lock, and it was it's pretty scary, to be honest. But yeah, gutted for him. He drove really well, really strong in qualifying, and really strong in the race as well. So it's good to see that he's making strides, because it is clear he is making steps, and it's really good to see. I'd also say that, let's say, massive thank you to PPR Esports and the whole team. The team's pretty big. Like, it's relatively new to the scene. It's not been that big for that long, but the drivers that we've got, probably one of the highest calibers in the entire ACC community, and it's really great to see. And the whole team has been putting in huge work, and it's good to see it's all paying off for all drivers. We're all making steps forward, and we're all up the front consistently, which is always what you want. And yeah, finally as well, I'd like to say, massive thank you as well to World Pro Racing and HyperX for making these events. It's a shame that the turnout, as I said earlier, wasn't what it should be. In my opinion, it should be a lot higher, and hopefully for the next ones it will be. Obviously we've got Kyle Army, which is a relatively popular track as well, so fingers crossed that goes as it should. But yeah, massive well done to those guys as well. They're doing a huge work. Obviously their new HQ, which is really impressive. I definitely need to book some tickets and get myself up there at some point. It's definitely something really cool to go and look at. But yeah, thanks to everyone watching as well. I hope you enjoyed the race.
Well, there it is, your race winner then, Luke Whitehead, in the HyperX Open Series. Luke, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for talking to us. We'll leave you alone now to go and enjoy it and celebrate the rest of your evening. Congratulations.
Thanks, you too. Have a good evening, guys.
Well, David, that brings a curtain down onto round 8, of the HyperX Open Series. And boy, were we treated to some great battles out there.
I mean, right, Kieran, in all honesty, 6 cars. How can 6 cars provide that much entertainment? That shouldn't be possible. But yet, here we are. Again, we're really disappointed that we had the low numbers, and I'm hoping that the drivers that did pull out at the last minute have got valid reasons for doing so, because it leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, because I know the work that Justin and Adrian put in behind the scenes to make these championships happen, and it's not nice to see, you know, so many people pulling out at the last minute. I think it was about an hour ago and we had like about 15 or 14 cars that were ready to go, so really disappointed to see that, but we were spoiled tonight in no way.
We really were.
Yeah.
And if you want to see more of that in the HyperX Open Series, you can tune in again on the 3rd of December, where, as Luke Whitehead rightly said, we're off to South Africa and Kyalami for the final round of the HyperX Open Series. All that remains to say is thank you very much for watching, wherever you have been watching, on YouTube, on Facebook and on Twitch, on the Esports Television Network, Motorsport TV and TVM Sport. And of course, a big thank you to our title sponsors in HyperX, and also to AMD, GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster, Gaming Malta and visitmalta.com. From myself, Kieran McGinley, and David Christie alongside, it's been a pleasure to bring these races to you, and we hope to see you again soon. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you again soon at World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.